testimony here. This is from Nathaniel. I just found this, and it speaks to me on a lot of levels. Too many forget that the continuance of a people should come from the love of one's own people, and not a hate for the other. I hate the mistakes I made. I wear them every day, and some I even wish I could take back. But time is merciless and flows only forward. I'm trying to rectify them, but some I may just have to live with. It's an uphill battle. Listen to this guy, No White Guilt.
Listen to this guy, No White Guilt. No White Guilt. No White Guilt. Listen to this guy, No White Guilt. No White Guilt. No White Guilt.
Everything from being a man to encouraging your kin to face tattoos, to how you identify yourself and your beliefs, to discerning your motivations for why you want to see the children of the West survive. Don't make my mistakes. You'll feel like a fool otherwise. Don't make my mistakes. That's from Nathaniel Nelson. A warning to him about the warnings that he wished he had somebody share with him.
Listen to this guy, No White Guilt. No White Guilt. No White Guilt. Listen to this guy, No White Guilt. No White Guilt. No White Guilt. Listen to this guy, No White Guilt. No White Guilt. No White Guilt. Listen to this guy, No White Guilt.
When there's nothing left but the fire in my chest and the air that fills my lungs, I'll hold my tears and trade my ears for a glimpse at kingdom come. On the other side of misery, there's a world we long to see. The strife we share will take us there to relief and sovereignty. Oh, by God, we'll have our home again. By God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home. In our own towns, we're foreigners now. Our names are spat and cursed. The headline smack of another attack, not the last and not the worst. Oh, my fathers, they look down on me. I wonder what they feel to see their noble sons driven down beneath a coward's heel. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again. By God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home. The road is dark, the way is lost. My eyes, they strain to see. I struggle forth to find a friend to light the way for me. Oh, brothers, can you hear my voice, or am I all alone? If there's no fire to guide guide my way, then I will start my own. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home. Oh, by God, we'll have our home again. By God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home.
Big news, epic victory, and I mean epic victory for White Wellbeing. We will talk about it. Some of my thoughts on the Kyle Rittenhouse acquittal, as well as a profound secret within the response of many of the folks. We'll talk about that as well. A Go Free lesson of the day, never defend against anti-white attacks, and we will discuss what is an anti-white lens. This and more. And because someone I know often tells me that my jokes are awful when I am trying to make children who are adult children, of course, of their with their parents and guardians laugh. Because of that, I think we're going to let the adults have some jokes moving forward. So, if you would please cover the ears of the adult children in the room. A white positive guy went into the doctor's office and said that his body hurt everywhere he touched it. Impossible, said the doctor. Show me. The white positive guy took his finger, pushed on his elbow, and yelled. He then pushed on his knee and yelled. He pushed his ankle and yelled. Everywhere he touched made him yell. The doctor squinted at some poorly covered tattoos on the patient before saying, "You're not really white positive, are you?" "Well, no," he said. "I'm actually Hitlerian." "I thought so, dumbass," said the doctor. "Your finger is broken." And we are going free. It is 5 p.m. in Washington, D.C., 7 a.m. Sydney, 10 in London, and midnight in Moscow. And it is excellent to be with you all here tonight. What a glorious Sunday evening, Monday morning. I hope everybody is doing magnificently. A big hello to everybody over there on D-Live and on Odysee. I'll be checking in over there from time to time. Remember to tag me as No White Guilt on those platforms, just like you will tag me as No White Guilt over here on YouTube. Great to see all of you, European American. And Jerome V is with us, and John, and Lockie, and Hungarian Spectator, and Kent, the great Naderific, says he prefers the kid jokes. And Mr. Fookers is with us, Nancy Drew, and the great 4-0 is with us. Your Yankee as well, Promethean Epoch. Great to see every single one of you. And it appears that everything is running okay, and that is magnificent because we are celebrating today with a colossal and absolutely epic beyond epic victory in service to white well-being. We are the ones having the victories. We're going to be talking about that. First, I want to let you know that you may financially gift while you are here with us during the Going Free gathering today. You may do so on Entropy, which should be up and running, and I'll check and make sure. It sure is. It does appear to be. And you can do so at a cost of 15% to you if you financially gift there. You might also go over to Cash App. That is no cost to you. And you can find the URLs for both in the description below. Those who financially gift questions or comments will have all of their questions or comments read during the course of the gathering. There is another option for financially gifting, and it is over there at Odysee as well. We might as well just change it to the White Healing method of financially gifting because he broke their system, financially gifting $1,100 several weeks ago. What a grand champion he is. Great to see everybody that is showing up over there. Is that stream working properly? It does appear to be so, but you have to check on these things, you know. Please, if you have any questions or comments over the course of the gathering, that's what these things are for. so that we can come together, so that we can share, so that we can grow, so that we can become better, because we are the doers. We are the people who are actually, think about it, for God's sake in heaven. Think about all of the changes that this community has made, that those who have been going free have made in the world. And I mean on planet Earth. I don't mean metaphorically. I don't mean it colloquially. I don't mean in your neighborhood when I say the world. I mean planet Earth. We have changed the societal conversation. Everything that we are sharing with our brothers and sisters around the world is working and is being adopted not only by our brothers and sisters, but by the anti-whites, who are forced to get into our story to communicate with us, to communicate with what they see. The tidal wave is on the way. It is, of course, as the sea retreats, folks, we know what is on its way, and that is a cleansing of this society, Western civilization, a cleansing of all that is evil from us, taking down the greatest evil of our age, which is anti-whiteism, an endeavor that has blown the silver trumpets and called heroes from all races and backgrounds to come to this greatest struggle of our generation. And we folks are going to be the ones that bring this down, even while we have folks across the white sympathetic sphere, white negative people who we know as ant-nats and militiamen and the like, doing everything they can with slanders and lies and cheating and theft and manipulation and everything underhanded, every piece of skullduggery, everything that is low class and no class and immoral and illegal, they are up to in an effort to bring us down. Why? Because we are finally having success where they never had success. We are finally doing things where they never did anything. Let them continue to have their little meetings and let them continue to have their little marches. We are busy saving Western civilization, ladies and gentlemen, and we have done it in a very big way. We don't have any anonymous financial gifters over the course of the previous week. I will check and make sure just in case any came in at the last minute, but I don't believe that any did. And it looks like, no, indeed, we're blank there. So good, I didn't miss anybody. You may financially gift also with cryptocurrency while you are with us today. We just saw Bitcoin take another little dip down. Is this the dip before the Big Dipper? Maybe so. If you want to do a lot of good with a little bit of crypto, now's the time to do it before it loses its value again. And it does seem to be pointed in that direction, potentially. You can go over to nowhiteguilt.org, nowhiteguilt.org, and you will find the financial gift tab. And my God, there you will see cryptocurrency wallets that you can financially gift to. Do it. Do it now. Do it regularly. Let's recapture our destiny with the one thing that is working. I'm going to ask you right now, how many groups out there reached 2 million people over the past week and a half? How many? One. None of the others all together have reached, and all of the others put together over many, many years, they've only reached whatever number that might be, with confirmation of the anti-white narrative, with confirmation that it is immoral to put an end to anti-whiteism, to give a damn about the victimization of Western kind. That's all they've done. We've done the exact opposite. And it is indeed the success and intelligence of our endeavor and what we do day in and day out to bring this message to our brothers and sisters. It is indeed that success and that intelligence that earns the enmity, that earns the lies, that earns the slander from all those who slither around on their bellies, Hitlerian worshiping with all of their days, not even knowing a damn thing beyond the ends of their noses. God bless you, every single one of you. Magnificent to see you all here today. What an epic victory we have had, and we're going to get to that epic victory right now. Ghost Rider is with us. Heilig is with us. Great to see you as well. Franklin Peanut is with us. John is here. And Olaf is here. And who else do we have? Baldur, the great Baldur is with us. And we got a schedule to have him on soon. First Last is with us. The Watcher is with us. Alleluia is with us. Amen to that. So few people, such a big change in the world. The great Brand Danger, the great Yiz, the Unifier is with us. Magnificent to see every single one. So is the sweet lady Carlisle Cockatoo is also with us. Greek, German American is with us as well. Wonderful to see you all. We're growing, folks. We're going to be talking about the Going Free clubs. I could not be more excited. I'm going to tell you what, right before we get started, talking about this epic victory. 2 million million people being reached right now with a concept that changes the conversation in society, a concept that changes the story that we find ourselves in, a concept that is a curative contagion. Once adopted, everything changes in the world. The anti-white system is the same all across Western civilization. The cure will take care of it all, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get started, I have to have a drink I have to have some coffee from my new mug. Everything tastes better when it comes out of Jason. Yes, I've got a new mug here, as you can see. And we got some reflection on it there. And we got a little bit of verbiage on it there, as you can see. This is my new mug. And would you like a drink? I'll have get you a drink as well. I think this might replace all of the mugs in the house. Great. Let's do this right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Captured this evidence of this appalling anti-whiteism. Others simply couldn't believe that the anti-whiteism in America had reached such a level. Speaking of anti-whiteism, the Washington Post thinks...
That's right, folks. Mark Dice, and he's given a little head nod here and there because why? Because we have the concepts that work. We have the things that succeed. We have what changes the world. We have what puts our people on the moral high ground. We have the means to recapture our destiny. And what happens? We have our heroes going over to places like Mark Dice. We have them speaking in the live chat. We have them sending him messages saying, this is what this is. So let's get a big, raucous round of emojis for every single one of you. You know who you are. Every single one of you who has gone over to Mark Dice and his channel and use the lexicon, the 5 key concepts in his threads, who send him private messages using the 5 key concepts, just regular in language. I'm going to play that again.
Captured this evidence of this appalling anti-whiteism. Others simply couldn't believe that the anti-whiteism in America had reached such a level. Speaking of anti-whiteism, the Washington Post thinks...
That is almost 2 million subscribers to his channel. Over the next week and a half, 2 weeks or so, this video, what he's saying is going to be shared. It's going to be picked up. It's going to be seen. It's going to be heard by minimum 2 million people as it makes its way across the internet. And again, it's not just another concept. It's not just another idea. It's something that people want. It's something that works. It's something that will put them on the moral high ground. And you heard that right. It's something that is going to recapture our destiny. So what do you got to say now? What do you got to say now as we reclaim our destiny with success after success? That's right. That's right. It's nothing but successes here in service to white well-being. You know, the ant-nats, all these bastards out there, they've been claiming all along, of course, I've been fighting them. 1994, I came out with anti-white. How did I do it? I'm going to pay attention. See, the ant-nats are so poor in intelligence that they can't even pay attention. I said from the very beginning that back in 1994, I was looking for a concept. There was no concept that encapsulated the anti-whites on all of their different ideologies, all of the different ways that they were attacking us. I said the one thing that unified us, all of those attacks, was that we were the victims. We needed something. I've explained this all many times. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've explained this many times. I looked across the totality of the white sympathetic sphere, everything I saw. I could list organizations from dawn till dusk that I was either helping or participating with in one way or another. Their literature, anti-white, wasn't there. I looked when I came up with on my own, not saying that anti-white didn't already exist, saying that I came up with it on my own. Are you dumbasses able to understand that? Ant-nats out there, militiamen out there. I came up with it, and then I went and looked at the dictionary in the house, the one I still have, and it was not there. I went and I looked at the city library. It was not there. Also, what was not there was Anti-Whiteism, something I came up with on my own. In other words, I didn't read it anywhere else. It wasn't being used in the white sympathetic sphere. It wasn't being, it wasn't in the dictionaries. It wasn't any history books that I was using for school and the like. It wasn't anywhere. So I began using it. And I said, when I put it to use out in the world, in blue collar jobs and white collar jobs, everywhere I went, everybody instantly got it. You know what? Another example of everybody instantly getting it is when Mark Dice used it. The lovely Paulridge, the genius from down under, pointed out no one had a problem understanding anti-whiteism in the thread under Mark Dice using anti-whiteism to what will end up being 2 million sets of ears that will hear that. 2 million sets of ears that will end up hearing that and doing what? Repeating it. Nobody had a problem getting it. Nobody said anti-whiteism. Well, what in the world is that? Nobody was saying that. I guarantee you right now, the Ant-Nats are such low-class pieces of shit that they'll run over to the Mark Dice video and they'll type in right now, what's anti-whiteism? Because that is how much of scum that every single one of them are. Every one of these Hitlerians. So I went around and I was using that and I was pushing in the white sympathetic sphere. Day in and day out, we've got to use anti-white. We've got to use anti-whiteism. We got to use Western kind. We got to use white erasure. Day in and day out using these. And what happened the entire time? Pushbacks. Big pushback from Ant-Nats and the like. No, we're not going to use that. No, we almost never one of them might say, well, anti-white, as though it was just like to appease me. And then they would go back to calling them what? They would go back to calling them puppies. They would go back to calling them Bolsheviks. They would go back to calling them liberals. They would go back to etc. And I said, it's got to be anti-white. It's got to be anti-whiteism. I won argument after argument. And I said, all of you assholes out there that I'm arguing with over this, the day will come when you will use what we're saying here, what I'm saying, and what these champions are saying now. The day will come and where you say, you've always been using it. Jason did nothing. Well, what ended up happening? Later in 2009, Bob Whitaker came up with a slogan that racism is just a code word for anti-white. And I cried to the heavens with joy that someone else was using what was the most intelligent thing for the white race to use in service to our people. And his wonderful crew that he assembled beneath him of champions, they fell in line and they started using it too. Well, what happened? What happened? The entire white sympathetic sphere pushed back against them for using anti-white. The entire white sympathetic sphere pushed back on them for using cartoons. I actually argued against people in private discussions about pushing back and attacking people like Tim Murdoch to tell them, leave them alone. Let them use their cartoons. Let them they should be using anti-white. Well, in a few short years, disappeared because of the Ant-Nats, because of the KKK people, because of the secessionist idiots, because of the militiamen, because of the etc. No, you can't use that. Well, they got to be Yankees, right? Or they got to be the New World Order, or they can't be anti-white. Year after year after year arguing with these people. And then finally, with teams and dedicated people and pushing all of these years, anti-white starts showing up everywhere. It's catching on like wild roses everywhere. And what happens predictably? The same swine, the same vile swine that squeals from their little Hitlerian pig pens say, oh, well, we've always used it. Jason's done nothing. No credit to the folks going free. No thank you. No well done. No show up. No interview. Maybe we should be doing things that way. Maybe we shouldn't be Hitler worshiping all day long. Maybe we shouldn't be hating on other groups of people. Maybe we shouldn't be caring about the kid who is raped in the school because somebody who's confused about their sexuality is allowed into their bathroom in order to just hate on Jews. Maybe we should do things differently. But no one's showing up. No one gratitude. No one's saying, look at the success. No one's saying this has never been done. No one said. They still are going to the academic peacocks. They still are going to the Hitler worshipers. Well, now, over the past 3 years now, not only anti-white, maybe it's more than 3 years now, but anti-whiteism being used. Well, you damn well better know. You damn well better be able to predict right now. The ant-gnats are going to show up because they are the ones, the ant-gnats, who have the least credibility, who have the ugliest characters, who are the blackest of liars, who are the deepest of haters. They exist just in the story of another group of people to hate on them and to be the reason why the white race has to be exterminated. They are the reason for that. National Socialism, my ass. You sooner will get people all to adopt pedophilia. You absolute twits. Well, you damn well better predict now that the ant-gnats are going to come forward and say, Jason and those going free folks, they didn't have anything to do with anti-whiteism. They didn't have anything to do with that. Now that it's being said everywhere, they'll just adopt it and act like they've always been saying it. Just like the lies that they peddle, just like the slurs that they peddle. You know, when it comes to the ant-gnats, I got to tell you something about the antagonists in the totality, not just the ant-gnats, but primarily them. But all of those who play the antagonist in the anti-white narrative, throughout their lives, there are moments when they possess high IQ DNA. Both men and women throughout their lives, those who play the villain in the anti-white narrative, they possess high IQ DNA. The problem is they always spit it out. This is the scum that continues to get in our way as we do stuff like this.
And capture this evidence of this appalling anti-whiteism. Others simply couldn't believe that the anti-whiteism in America had reached such a level. Speaking of anti-whiteism, the Washington Post thinks
When is changing the world enough, ladies and gentlemen? This is a magnificent. I want everyone who's listening right now, who's listening in replay, you can put it in the thread afterward. If you don't understand, you don't comprehend, you don't know how important this is because you're too goddamn stupid to know how important this is. Fine. Celebrate anyhow. Put your flippers together like the dumb seal that you are and applaud if that's you. Everyone else who's intelligent enough to get it. Celebrate everyone who is out there and who is making this real change in the real world with the concepts that create the story that we are in, where we are the heroes, where we are the moral actors, where we can come together, an infinite number of groups, of ideas, of different iterations, of different endeavors, of political parties, of etc. All of that becomes possible when we have the moral matrix to be on the high ground. End of story. End of equation, ladies and gentlemen. I just personally too, I want to salute everybody out there who has taken part in this, who has been an early adopter. I want to congratulate everybody who saw this from the very beginning, people who saw that this kind of thing needed to be done from the very beginning. I want to congratulate them who, before ever even finding me and the service to White Wellbeing and Going Free, who realized that something like this had to be done. I want to congratulate every single one of you as well. Every single one of you who has been an early adopter of the practice of going free, pushing uphill the entire time as I have been pushing uphill against these anti-whites, against these ant-gnats who are doing everything to undermine us, these goddamn Hitler-worshipping, lying bastards, every single one of them doing everything they can to undermine the success. And you know what they said? You know what all of these did? All they do is piss and moan. That's it. All it's been is a giant effort to piss and moan ever since the anti-whites got smart enough. Now, really think about this for one moment, and then we're going to chop this segment. We're going to go on to Kyle Rittenhouse. I want you to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The people in the white sympathetic sphere were reaching no one except folks who already agreed. They weren't getting into the mouths of anyone with concepts except people who already agreed. That was their endeavor with the tiniest margin of millimeters into the general population. That's it. Everyone else already agreed. And they just shuffled them around like a deck of cards. I watched for almost 3 decades. I listened to these people that so many applaud all the time, howling away about how wonderful they are. I watched. I didn't embarrass them. I didn't say anything to undermine them. I supported them. I helped them in the background. I did everything that I could, far more than far numerous others. 99% I did far more supporting people in the background. I watched them say that their endeavors, they knew all along what they were doing was just documenting our destruction, just documenting it so that someday some other race of people could come along and say, well, there were some sane people back then. I watched all along as people said, well, we'll do this so that after the white race, after Western kind has lost, then people will be able to see, well, that these other people were actually quite ugly and villainous. I would say, what, are you nuts? Are you absolutely nuts? Why in hell are you continuing down this line of thinking? This is what I want to share with folks. They pissed and moaned after the anti-whites throttled the media, the platforms, social media that they were using. They had nothing except filling envelopes with monthly newsletters. Sometimes it would be like every other month, with ugly little cartoons and stupid bits of history, all of it in the rearview mirror, all of it meaning nothing. And for all of those people who were good intentioned, I salute every single one of them. For all of those people who were just infected with all of the anti-white, the mean pathogens, I salute every one of them. We all have been victimized by the anti-white narrative. We all have been victimized by growing up in the Western world today because the anti-whites control the totality of Western civilization. They dominate it. I salute and I sympathize and I empathize with every single one of those folks who were well-intentioned, who actually were out there filling those envelopes because they actually cared about our people. They weren't filling those envelopes to mail them out once a month because they were using the victimization of Western kind to hate Jewish people or to hate Black people or to hate Asian people or whatever it was. They actually cared about what was being done to us in our civilization. I love every single one of those people, and I want to bring every single one of them to the service of white well-being so that they can be healed, so that they can be more physically, mentally, and spiritually than they were when they were suffering with mean pathogens, so that they can actually do something productive with their lives instead of like all those old and they're middle-aged and young as well, wasting their lives in endeavors that go nowhere, that do nothing for our people. So to all the well-intentioned folks out there, my harsh words are not for you. My love is for you. My empathy is for you. I know where you are. I was there. I had that beginning. I wanted to, at the very beginning, I wanted to do something for our people, looked out into the world and saw these very ugly forms. I had people who were infected for 2 decades, 5 decades, whatever it was before me, coming to me, and I gave them respect. I gave them respect because it's their due. They've been there. They've been sacrificing. Respect, by the way, I don't get by so many in the white sympathetic sphere. And I gave them their respect. And they came to me and said, no, Jason, it's got to be all about this group. It's got to be this way. It's got to be that way. And briefly, they would manipulate me into thinking, okay, maybe it does got to be that way. But then I would think about it more and I would think, no, it's not. That's not going to work. That's not based in love. That's not where my true heart is. I never wanted to go out there and hate every different group of people out there. I never wanted, had nothing to do with who I was and what kind of a person I was. I wanted to defend my people. I wanted to put an end to the child abuse being inflicted on white babies. That's what I wanted to put an end to. That's what I was all about. And that's what so many others are all about as well. And to all of you out there, if you're in that state, if you're suffering in that place, if you were misled, come away from that shit. Come away. They've got nothing on 2 million people getting a concept that will change the world. Nothing. Come away from that garbage. Come to something that works. If you look at me and you say, wow, that guy's pissed off. Wow, that guy's passionate. You know, we've talked about this before. These same people who will say, oh, that Jason guy, look at how passionate he is. Look at how animated he is. Oh, he's just outrageous. I don't want to listen to that guy. By the way, let me show you some black and white footage of this other guy that's screaming on a microphone about hating some group of people or whatever it was that he was talking about. We've talked about that before. Come away from that. Come away from that rearview mirror. You're going to run right into a brick wall. You're not seeing where you're going. I sympathize with all of you who filled those envelopes. I helped you fill those envelopes with that garbage. So don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I came up through that trash and I found something better. And we've been perfecting this year after year after year. So I want you, if you're one of those folks, to come away. Take our hands. Come to something healthy. Do something right with your life. Be a hero. Start a family. Be a man of the West. But what happened? All these white sympathetics had nothing, no access. They weren't doing anything in the real world, just shuffling around the people that already agreed with us. Just shuffling around people that were already in this degree or that circle or whatever, had some sort of agreement with wanting to put an end to the victimization of Western kind. And then they would help to poison them ultimately, many of those folks. Cravens wanting to get people to go live in a hole in the ground somewhere. And then that ended up being their mausoleum and the end of their life. They could have done something. Who knows what they could have been? Instead, convinced to do nothing with their lives. And I tried to tell them, I argued, and I was wrong at times, and I was right at times. And sometimes other people were right, and I didn't listen to them. And sometimes other people were right, and I did listen to them. But they did nothing. They wouldn't have me, with the exception of the groups that I became a member of, and then would lead different groups within those groups, and the rare occasion of being invited places, a couple places, rare. I was pushed out. I was blocked out, just like they do now, blacklisting, because they don't want to play to the crowd. I don't want to play to their sickness. I don't want to take a horde of people addicted to heroin and offer some other form of morphine, some other opiate to them. I want to get them clean. And they hate me for that. The drug pushers, you know who they are, of various stripes. They want to keep pushing the opiates, and they play to that addiction. So they hate the guy and they hate the community who wants to make people better, who wants to make them stronger. They never had a voice. Well, what happened? The white man came along, not these people in these white sympathetic spheres, by the way. But the white man came along and built the internet and created social media. And the anti-whites weren't able to control social media yet. So for the first time, the Ant-Nats and the Cravens and the conspiracy theorists and the weirdos and the freaks and the degenerates and all of that other garbage, for the first time, they were able to get on Twitter. They were able to get on Facebook, and they were able to get on, and what was the one before Facebook? And they were able to get on these, and they were able to communicate with people beyond the white sympathetic sphere. And what happened? Well, they started gaining some audience. They started mostly accessing more people in the white sympathetic sphere. Their previous access had been limited by the range of their voice, by the range of their mailers, by the range of the meetings they could go and speak at or pass out. If you guys only knew what it was like in the past to have to show up at every goddamn meeting, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry there had a stack full of literature that they wanted to shove in your goddamn face. You'd leave there with a ton of paper that they had to take down the redwood forest for to be able to print. That's what the meetings used to be like. That was the extent of their voices. Do you understand me? Are you following me? Are you following me? That was it. Now, the white man, years ago, invents social media. And now these Ant-Nats and Cravens and secessionists and all this other garbage, now they think, and now, mind you, again, I'm drawing a line between those who are honest and who are only focused on our people, white positive people, and those who are white negative, those who are out there who just want to hate on other groups, who just want to talk about the victimization of our people, destruction of our countries, white erasure, so that they have good excuses to hate folks. Fucking idiots. And now they had more reach. And so now, instead of just being able to speak to the 5 people, 3 people, 20 people, 50 people at a meeting with their literature, their useless literature, now they had many tens, even hundreds of thousands that could see their messaging. And then they started to build their accounts, started to grow, got a little bigger. More and more their numbers ticked up of followers, the more, especially when they played to the disease, when they played to the heroin addiction of playing the villain. When they played to that, their audiences soared. When they said, hey, well, you were on heroin before, but now we got another opiate. Now we got something else that we're going to sell you. Very similar. And then all of these addicts smacking their veins to build them up for the next dose of the next venom from these losers. They showed up by the hundreds and thousands of tens of thousands. And what happened with us? Well, me and people like Mr. George and other heroes, we came out and we said, no, we're not. You need to get clean. You need to go away from the anti-white narrative. You need to stop playing the villain. So what happened? Only the best came. So the numbers grew slowly, very slowly. Why? Because the best are always going to be the cream at the top. They're always going to be just a few at the very top. So the best showed up. The people with the highest character, the brightest, the most courageous, the ones who are the most adaptable, which, by the way, in case you haven't understood biology, it's those who are able to easily and quickly adapt that are the ones who survive. Those are the ones who triumph, not the ones who get stuck, calcified in the ways of antiquity and see the tools of their nationalism in antique stores. Not those, but those who can adapt to the world that we're in. And we came out there and we said, no, we're not going to give you the heroin. Well, so many said, no, thank you. We want some other opiate. We want some pusher. We want some drug pusher. Show up with a new banner, a new party program, a new slogan, a new everything, just like it's always gone before. Hating on some other races of people. Blaming everyone else under the sun. Instead of the people who should be blamed, the anti-whites. And their numbers soared. Well, what happened? What we said, the anti-whites are going to get a handle on this. They're going to be able to shut down social media on the big platforms like YouTube. And in all of this alt media, they'll be able to shut all that shit down too. The only thing that'll be left us, as I have said, I can't believe I have said thousands of hours of video. And there are still people out there who misrepresent me and who don't remember. Jesus Christ, that is exactly what Jason said. And I'm not the only one. You got Lovely Porridge. You got Naderific. You got Brand Danger. You got Ray Foster. You got Ray Van Buskirk. You got so many others. You got Fourneau. You got Jared George. Everybody forgetting what's predicted, and then it comes true. What's retrodicted, and it all makes sense. Formula works backward and forward. Said the only thing that you would have left at that point is the social media to the circles that you are in, your circles of influence, your friends, your work, your clubs. What did I say? Join clubs. They're going to shut this shit down. All of it, everybody's going to be getting kicked off of the platforms long before it happened. Everybody else riding high, like high on the drugs that they were on. It's never going to end. It's never going to end that we're going to be able to reach people who already agree with us all around the world. And then what happened? Well, they all started getting shut down. They all started getting censored. The anti-whites came in and throttled everything, didn't they? Just exactly as we said. And do you remember there were people playing the villain in the anti-white narrative, antagonists were out there saying they'll never be able to. This is the internet. They'll never be able to shut it down. And then do you remember? And I said, Bravo Sierra, they'll shut it all down. And then do you remember There were people who, prior to Biden getting elected, said they wanted the Democrats to get elected, because when the Democrats get elected, because every other time in their life, when the Democrats got elected, things lightened up. So free speech would become free again in the United States and maybe even elsewhere as a result. Do you remember? Or you all forgotten that? And I said, no, it's not. It's going to get much worse. And how do we know? Because there are too many nodes of power in the hands of the anti-whites. Too many nodes of power. In the future, they'll be able to look back and say that previous Democrat president, that was when that ended. That was when that was all over. But being able to see it in the minute takes a lot more intelligence. It takes thinking out of the coffin. It takes humble people who have an objective and who are able to listen to each other. Like, I'm able to shut my mouth. As much as I run it here, I'm able to shut my mouth and listen to brilliant people like First Last and so many others who got out. I had a guy get out to me, a genius who's a leader of an organization. I'm not going to say what kind of an organization. I'm going to say there are tens of thousands of members, though. And we had a conversation, and he said, what we're doing, this is an important person. He said that what we're doing is it. That what we are doing is going to succeed. What we are doing is the way. And that we shouldn't vary from this course. We shouldn't vacillate from this course. We should not turn aside. We should be championing what we are doing everywhere we go. And most importantly, this champion, leader of tens of thousands, said he is 100% with us. 100% shoulder to shoulder with us. This is what quality people are doing. Now, internet gets throttled. People get kicked off of their platforms. They get kicked off. They tweet all day long. That's all they do, is tweet all day long. Boy, look at all of the followers I got. They're tweeting all day long, every day, morning, dawn, dusk, evening, all through the night, 7 days away, 7 days a week, 400 days a year. They're tweeting. That's how often they tweet. And then their Twitter gets taken away. And now what do? Every single one of them. They piss and they moan. And then they jump onto these little 50-cent platforms. 50-cent platforms. And they say, this is where it's at. This is where the free speech is going to be in the future. Not having any idea what we said. Not listening to us at all. We said they would create alternative platforms to corral and ghettoize us. And that is exactly what's happened. The anti-whites have created platforms. The ones they didn't create or press into service for them, they shut down. So now they've been pushed into these little ghettoized platforms, these 50-cent nothing platforms. And now they think, well, this is all we can do. What does that tell you about their thinking? They're nothing. They're nothing. They're just toys in the sandbox for the anti-whites to do whatever they want with them. Well, what did we do when they throttled us? What did we do in planning prior to them throttling us and shutting us down? And by the way, I mean, I've been seeing these, all of these lies by these antique nationalist pieces of filth about that we've never had a single platform taken from, nothing but lies. Nothing but lies. You all know the truth. How many different platforms we've had taken from us. How many times we've been shut down. How many strikes we've had. We just happen to be smarter. We just happen to be able to survive and adapt where they couldn't. Well, you know where else we were able to survive and adapt to? We were able to predict this was going to happen. So we, instead of just putting ourselves in a position to just bitch about what the anti-whites did to us, which is all they do now, instead of doing that, we said there's going to be a period where there are content creators on social media who survive what has happened, who survive the throttling for any number of reasons, and they will still have the ears of millions. And we said, while they speak to those millions, we are going to get to them. We are not going to be able to reach the millions by way of our platforms. The anti-whites were never going to allow that. But we can get to those who will speak to the millions, who can speak to the millions. And my God, friends, we just did that. And we did that with a pill that will save their lives. We did that with the drug that will get them off of heroin. We did that with something pure and full of love and full of light, that every mother out there, when she hears it, that fathers out there, young people out there, when they're being harassed by their teachers in the classroom, when they're being told how evil the white race is, how evil they are because they're white and they can't get away from it no matter how hard they try, no matter how many tattoos they get, no matter how much they dress like they're a member of some other race or talk like they're a member of some other race, they're still trapped. Well, instead of doing that, maybe they hear somebody like Mark Dice, and there are more coming, folks. There are more coming. Maybe they hear them say something like anti-whiteism. It's appalling anti-whiteism. This is sickening anti-whiteism. Maybe they hear that, and then instead of getting a non-white partner and ending up white erasing themselves or going into drugs, white flighting into drugs, white flighting into suicide, white flighting into claiming that they are a member of another race, white flighting into being as anti-white and inflicting as much injury on our race as they possibly can. Maybe they'll stand up in that classroom when that harridan at the front of the class is telling them that they have to hate themselves because they're white. Maybe they'll stand up now and say, you know what, Mrs. Anti-White, that sounds a lot like anti-whiteism, bitch. Maybe that's what they'll end up saying. And all those anti-whites out there, rather the ant-nats out there who spread all the lies, who are always talking about me, who are always trying to slander, who are always trying to misrepresent, who are always trying to muddy my character, who are always trying to deny the work that I've done, who are always trying to undermine me so that others won't come a direction of love, hope, and redemption, so that they'll stay addicted to the heroin, so that they'll continue to use the victimization of Western kind as an excuse to hate some other group of people. To all of you, I say this: winners focus on winning. Losers focus on the winners. Drowning in the argument, the anti-white says, what exactly is anti-white? You have got to be animated with the righteous passion of reclaiming our destiny. We are the heroes of this era. I am fired up. In case you haven't noticed, let me see what you all are saying. I'm going to say hello. And my God, I couldn't be more excited. I have been in jobs in my life where I've used anti-whiteism. By the way, Western kind is being used in social conversation now by people who are not in the white sympathetic sphere. White erasure is being used as well. Anti-white narrative being used. So just wait until people like the ant-nats decide to show up and say, I was always using that. Scum. Every single one of them scum. Looks like we have Crazy Cat is with us. Hello, William Runner. Iraq Syndrome showing the fire and the hearts over here on Odysee. Says, what a man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Crazy Cat says, Jason's right. They're trying to turn the internet into television, radio, newspaper, a propaganda broadcast system. And I'll keep saying it. There's a window here, and people like Mark Dice, they will be disappearing, and or they'll be pressed into service. And so our ability to get to them with the tools, and now mind you, that window for us is infinitely larger in what we do compared to what other white sympathetics do. You're not going to be able to get to, a Mark Dice out there, a true champ. Go tell the guy he's great. Go tell the guy he's great. You're not going to be able to get to him and say, by the way, you should talk about how much that this particular race of people rapes. I mean, it's just not going, he's not going to do that. And he just loses channel. The anti-whites will come in and censor that. You're not going to be able to show up to Mark Dice and say, hey, here's our new party flag. You should show that on your show so that all the rest of America starts supporting our new political party that hates some group of people over here, or hates all the groups of people, hates white people too, if they're not of a specific type of white person or whatever it might be. You're not going to be able to do that. But you are going to be able to get to people for now, like Mark Dice and others, and get them to use these concepts that liberate Western kind. That liberate Western kind. All right, let's see. Big hello to everybody on Odysee. A big hello to everybody on D Live. Looks like we got Misty over there, and that SOB is over there. Jack McDaniels as well. Great to see you all. Otterox, is that what that says? Hello. How exciting is this? How exciting is it to be part of something that is changing societal conversation around the world? To be an actual player and mover in history. How exciting is that? If you're not grasping it, I don't know. I'll if you need me to come to your house and maybe shake you by the lapels, or maybe turn you over my knee until you finally understand we are changing the world, and we're doing it with a pittance. We're doing it with a pittance. The OE is coming along. You know what phase we're in, and moving forward into the next phase, things continue. We go from strength to strength, victory to victory, and we're talked about as though just another road, just another path. It's just another road to getting to the. It's like saying that actually climbing the mountain is just another path to sitting Indian style at the bottom of it and imagining that you're getting to the top of the mountain. Just another path. Let's see what folks have to say over here on Entropy. We have the great Sakis has shown up. $5 financial gift. Thank you so much, Sakis. Financial gift in the name of Kyle Rittenhouse and his not guilty verdict. Yes, he was acquitted. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute, because there are some things you need to, many of you probably have already thought about it, but some things that you need to have on your tongue, tip of your tongue, when you're thinking about this, Kyle, what happened, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Yiz, the unifier, is with us, financially gifting $5. Thank you so much, Yiz. A great champion. And I got to say, I have been so busy, beyond busy. Do you all know how many hours of sleep I get? You don't even know. I got out of bed this morning. The alarm's going off. I had a few hours. The alarm's going off. I grab the phone. I turn on rock music loud as my phone will go. I threw the blanket, just threw them. Not even, don't think, because it hurts. So I throw it off. I sit up. The room spun. So busy. Yiz has sent me like half a dozen victory stories. And I guess if she wants to share some of them, like in the question widget or whatever it is, maybe we can do that tonight. But I have not been able to read any of them because of how busy I have been, so that I could present them to you all. That's how much of a success Yiz is. She's just like, here's another one, Jason. Here's another one. I see the emails pop up. Here's another one, another huge success. You know how much I love that this woman is kicking ass, and that all of these guys who are out there, and especially the Ant-Nats, who think they're great Aryans, and they're just such great shining examples of morality, when in reality they're the opposite. They're the vast majority are the worst of the worst when it comes to humanity. And we'll talk about that. We could talk about that some. It's wonderful people who go the wrong direction, and then they find out, my God, this isn't right, and they come away from it. But those who go and stay, very few of those who go and stay are good people, and they hate on women, don't they? They hate on women. They shouldn't be doing anything these guys say. They shouldn't be participating. And Yiz would just Yiz the unifier makes them boil. They make it because she's out there actually changing minds. She's actually changing minds of people who change minds. You see, that is intelligence. That's how you win. I will personally participate in the building of the statue to Yiz. And I'm gonna get video of me personally making it, participating. I don't know how to make a statue. I will hold tools for the people who know how to make statues, so that we can have video of me being a gopher for the guy or guys, whoever makes the statue, grabbing all that shit, so that I can send that directly to the militiamen and to the Klansman and to the Ant-Nats, everybody playing the villain in the anti-white narrative. I want them all to know. Oh, no, not good enough. That's got to be turned away. Not good enough. Do you remember I told you all these people coming to me? Do you remember that really said the one sad story that I really share? The guy who was great. He was really smart. He was active, and he was always just kind of in, kind of out, kind of in, and wouldn't say. And you know why? You know why? And Lovely Porch put this beautifully. The guy, I said, what's going on, man? Why won't you? This many years ago. I said, why won't you, participate? He said, well, as you can see, Jason, I'm very overweight. And you know what Lovely Porch said? If you're white positive and you're overweight, you are a cuddly teddy bear. If you're overweight and you're an anti-white, you are a disgusting slob. That's how the world works. So, and he said he had some family members who had genetic ones who had some kind of disease here or there that, could be passed down, and didn't think that he could be a part, didn't think that he could participate because of this idea of this perfection. And let me tell you, when you find these guys, when you finally speak to these guys who are the ones who are leading these groups of perfection, boy, they are anything but perfection. They're like little vihuela players in mariachi bands, right? And they have large doses of non-white in them and everything else under the sun. They're very questionable. You got to squint really hard. Are they white? Are they white? They definitely don't look like the Arnold Brecker statues, right? These are the people saying you need to be pure and perfect and all this other kind of garbage. So I said, drop that, man. For God's sakes. Who knows how much that guy could have done for our people? And who knows if he ever really ended up getting rid of that idea. All right, let's roll. Yiz says here, still on the road driving for my new work contract. I'm so happy Yiz got. You have to have the base. Can't participate in live chat, but wanted to make sure to drop a $5 for a tithe to help celebrate our many victories. Kip, everyone. God bless you, sister. We love. That's magnificent. Kip, indeed. Thank you so much. The great Mrs. Jess Horse, folks. Let's get a round of raucous emojis. She hit the $25 mark with this financial gift. She writes, a victory for Western kind. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations! Exclamation point. Recapturing our destiny with every victory! Exclamation point. Kip and WG, happy Thanksgiving, and three white heart emojis. Thank you so much, Jess, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your lovely family and all the good work that you are doing in service to White Wellbeing. We so appreciate that. And just imagine right now, folks, how Fraulein Dresden is feeling. If she can look down on us, how excited is she right after she passes for 2 million people to get the news of anti-whiteism? Something to feel proud about. Something to really, when you dig in, if you're an American, you're having Thanksgiving coming up here shortly, something to really give thanks for. Something to feel proud about. Something to sit straight up in your chair about. Yiz back again, $3 more. God bless you, sister. The email victories are all about me getting small content creators between 1 and 5,000 followers to talk about going free and streaming with me about white positivity. Do you hear that, folks? Are you having those victories? We're doers. We're not observers. We're not complainers. We're not piss and moaners. We're doers because we're the ones who have to do it. Nobody's going to come along and fund us. Nobody's going to say it's okay. And you're going to see some. We're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse in just a minute. You're going to find something out. A big difference between you and those who are the antagonist in the anti-white narrative. A big difference. Are you getting out to content creators that have between 1 and 5,000 followers and talking with them and using the concepts from going free? Are you going out there and distributing leaflets? Franklin Peanut has found hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posted leaflets where he lives. And he's been around this long in going free. How many have you found? No, don't measure your effort by what you are capable of doing. You bound to the bed, then you're in the chats. You're in live chats. You're using the lexicon. These people that Yiz is inviting by way of using these concepts to a story where they are moral are ending up using these concepts, and they in turn end up influencing others with the curative contagion that we call the practice of going free of the anti-white narrative. God bless you, sister, and I will be getting to those emails. Thank you so very much for your hard work. Let me swivel around here. I do have a headline up. Kyle Rittenhouse's mother speaks out following son's acquittal. It's not about winning or losing, she says. He does have remorse. We will refresh. We have Bubba getting in with a $10 financial gift. Thank you, Bubba. We really appreciate that. And he says, this is for the trip down to see Mama Fraulein. Thank you so much. And your name is on that list that is going to be delivered to Mama Fraulein. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Remember also, folks, if you have cards that you want delivered to Mama Fraulein, condolence cards, Thanksgiving, Christmas cards, whatever it might be, all of the above in one, go over to my website, nowhyguilt.org. You click on the financial gift tab. You will see the address for my P.O. box. You mail it there. You write on there, for Mama Fraulein, or the equivalent thereof, like on the corner of the envelope or whatever, so that I can see it. It will, and then it will be delivered that way to her. The very first person I did that to, I gave that opportunity to, was Clarion, and I haven't received anything from her yet. So I've actually only received 2 letters so far for Mama Fraulein. So if you have something, you have to get it in within, let me see, the next 2 weeks. That's all you have. You have to get it to me within the next 2 weeks. So if you want something to go to Mama Fraulein, you mail it to my P.O. box and write on the envelope, for Mama Fraulein, to Mama Fraulein, something like that on the side somewhere. And then it will be delivered, because the idea here is that we want her to receive this bunch of letters of condolence, of Thanksgiving, of Christmas, or whatever it is, so she can feel that love. And anybody who would anybody who would want to diminish, like anybody who would, instead of doing, pardon me, this process, and instead would go out and try to find her address some other way to mail her a one-off card. That's a really selfish person. That's a person who hates going free. That's a person who wants to deny Mama Fraulein that moment of here's this giant measure of love and condolence for you. So that would be a very unwell person. White Student Transmission, financially gifting $5. Thank you so much. Great champion. And he says here, Folk Tithe celebrating this week's white positive victories. God bless you. A great champion in White Student Transmission. Let me have a quick look at what you all are saying. I will go backward through time, and we're going to move on. Kyle Rittenhouse. And we'll see. There's the great Brad C. is with us. Lectree is with us. Charles is with us. And Gamion is with us. Argon. And hello to you all. Arminius is with us. Melody is with us. Hello to all. Going Free, I saw went by, is with us. Hello to you. Jim, I think No White Gill Clips is with us. I think somebody has tagged No White Gill Clips. Mosaic is with us. Great to see you. And sliding along, remember, tag me as No White Guilt in the live chat. And then I will make it easier. Fractal is with us. What do you all think about Kyle Rittenhouse trial? Ian is with us. Great to see you. Ugly Truth. Rick is with us. Do you have some opinions? What have you seen people saying? Amber is with us. Hello. Promethean Epoch is with us. Are you all as excited as I am? I mean, Christ almighty, how are you not like jumping on the hood of your car as your wife or girlfriend, or you got your boyfriend driving it, and you're the gal on the hood or whatever it might be, as they drive it down the road, and you're just like, screw it, I'll get a new hood. We just got anti-whiteism to 2 million people. How can you not? How can you not? I mean, folks, if you're not getting it, it's not the same as getting Bolshevik to 2 million people, right? Art is Life is with us. Clark is with us. I bet you, the great Fornull is here. I bet you Fornull yanked out his prized guitar and in his ninja garb, because you all know he's a ninja, in his ninja garb, he began rocking away, probably on the peak of his house, blasting the windows out. Azimuth Clark is with us. Third rail. Okay. Daniela is with us. Hello. Let's go ahead and see what's happening here. We'll read a little bit of this. What Mama Kyle says. Jayling says, is Kyle Rittenhouse going to get his long arm back? From experience, the weapons of the tools of self-defense are never returned. By the way, I hope he does, because it wasn't even his, right? The firearm. I hope he does get it back. But who knows? They rarely do return them. They even though they're supposed to, they come out and they say, "Oh, it went missing. Sorry about that." What was I was going to say something else now. We were talking about Kyle. The firearm. Is Kyle going to get his? Oh, I got a coffee yesterday. And I have had this happen several times. I had to go to a Starbucks, which I don't like, of course, but a certain drink that I wanted available at a Starbucks, and there was a Starbucks, and I had a conversation with the guy at the register, and he was clearly anti-white, and he said white, anti-white, and he said, I said, how are you doing, man? And he said, oh, it's terrible. We've been so busy. There's this gun show going on, and and he's trying to like communicate to me that with these mannerisms, and with the way that he was saying the things and the colloquialisms that he was using, that he was trying to communicate like, boy, these are a bunch of nuts. These are these crazy people who care about the right to self-defense. Well, you all have learned that we don't talk about guns. We don't talk about gun rights like the idiotic. I told the people at NRA, this is one of the things. I mean, talking about pushing, being this Sisyphean effort my whole life. I pushed against the people at the NRA relentlessly. Stop calling it gun rights. Stop calling it the things that the anti-whites want you to call it. Call it the right to self-defense. And they still don't get it. There are people at the NRA who make six-figure salaries off of their donors, six-figure salaries, and then they end every year with well into seven figures off of all the perquisites. And yet they're still talking about gun rights. They're still putting up as many pictures as they can of non-white, healthy and fit young men helping attractive white women learn how to shoot a rifle or learn how to shoot a handgun. That's what they're doing at the NRA. So anyhow, I said to this guy, and by the way, if somebody from the NRA is listening, you want to start tossing around some of that six-figure salary, you give me a call. But they won't. They're too busy filling those six-figure salary slots with women and non-white people in order to discriminate against white males. Monty is here. Great to see you. So I said, oh, you're having a bunch of, now remember, he's got this guy at the register. He's got this momentum going. These crazy gun people, what are these crazy gun people? They're always up to something. They're ruining my day because it's made it so busy here. And I said, yeah, man, there are a lot of people who love the right to self-defense. And you should have seen this guy's face. He actually, I'm not going to say, when people do these killer fillers where there's like, he did that 3 times in a row. The longest I've ever heard each particular moment of it, like he was trying to sing with some horrible voice. And his eyes were going back and forth in his head as he was trying to think, how do you demonize the right to self-defense so that I, the anti-white, can look good and this person can look immoral? How do you do that? And he couldn't come up with anything, because there's nothing moral about objecting to the right to self-defense. Nothing. So I've had several of these victories at coffee houses, and I love it particularly at Starbucks because they have so many, which I really don't like going to. But they have so many. Back in the day, that's all I went to. They have so many anti-whites that were. Some of those people are wonderful people. I met some nice folks, but some of them, boy, terrible folks. But it was great watching this anti-white, and he wasn't a dumb guy. He didn't have some kid level ski sloped forehead or something like that. I mean, the guy, it was a normal, healthy, bright looking white guy, ordinary, healthy, bright looking white guy. And he was absolutely stumped by how do you demonize the folks who love the right to self-defense. Kyle Rittenhouse's mother, Wendy Rittenhouse, told Fox News on Sunday that there's no winning or losing in the wake of her son's acquittal in the murder trial that gripped the nation for the past 2 weeks. Wendy's 18-year-old son, now 18, was on trial for first-degree intentional homicide. So that's what, remember I was asking if first-degree in Wisconsin was the same as what I believe it to be everywhere, which of course meant that Kyle was charged beyond his crime. Now that was either the exuberance and stupidity of and hatred of the prosecutor, or that was intentional, often done, the overcharging of anti-whites so that the charges are just dropped, doesn't even go to trial. 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and 2 counts of first-degree reckless first-degree reckless endangerment, which would have meant that, unless I'm open to being corrected, which would have meant that it was intentionally reckless. Again, that would have been an overcharge and would have made the conviction harder. After shooting and killing 2 men and women, and then the gun charge was dropped, which is the one thing that he absolutely was guilty of. But let's see. After shooting and killing 2 men and wounded another during riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin on August 2020, following the police shooting of Jacob Blake, his critics largely convicted him as a murderer, while the defendant and his legal team argued Kyle had been acting in self-defense. The jury found him not guilty on all charges Friday. God bless that. Let's see. It's not about winning or losing, Wendy told Fox News correspondent. Since this is from Fox, you got to check it out with CNN, because everything that Fox says, of course, is a lie. There were 2 people that did pass away and families have grieved. This is Wendy speaking. He does have remorse, Wendy talking about her son. She said of her son, later adding he would have never went down there if this would have ever happened. If this would have ever happened again, he would never. I see. Asked what's next for Kyle now that he's a free man, I think that's a poor choice of words. He's never free of the trauma of that night. For adults, he's never free. Wendy said he wants to go to school, to play with his dog, and just be a normal kid, she said. And it's going to be different for him because there are going to be people out there who want to hurt him. Yeah, there are a lot of people out there who want to hurt him. He was enrolled at Arizona State University prior to the trial. Rittenhouse family spokesman said outside the Kenosha courthouse on Friday that they plan to do whatever it takes to protect the teenager. He blasted critics who condemned. That's a poor choice of words. Oh my God, where do they get these so-called journalists? He blasted critics who condemned Rittenhouse before the defense even began their presentation. Liberal, and by that they mean anti-white pundits and politicians, didn't hide their disappointment in the verdict, because the verdict wasn't about Kyle, as we talked about. The verdict is about Western kind. And so every time there is a big trial like this, the trial is about Western kind, anti-white narrative. And in that environment, Western kind is always guilty. Western kind is always the villain. Western kind always needs to suffer. So the details of the case are irrelevant. Now, fortunately, what happened in Kyle's case was that he got lucky enough to get a judge who was not at all going to allow himself to be pushed around by anti-whites who wanted to push him around. I don't know if this guy is anti-white, or if he is, to what degree, the judge. But what we could see is that he wasn't about to allow the law to be bent, the law to be reinterpreted, the law to be broken, the child to be slandered in court, etc. He wasn't going to allow that to happen. Now, whether that was just letter of the law, or he was sick and tired of seeing the anti-whites push people around, or whatever it is, there are still people like that in the world, in the West, but there are fewer and fewer. In fact, there are so few that this kind of thing is as rare as hen's teeth. So you have better luck looking for a needle in a hay field. Forget about a hay stack. But so Kyle really got lucky to end up with this judge and to end up overcharged as he was. I mean, it might have been the overcharging might have been a consequence of anti-whites calling for blood. And smarter anti-whites were not there in time to say, oh, no, those charges are too much. You got to go for less so that we can put him away forever. Anti-white media pundits and politicians didn't hide their disappointment in the verdict. MSNBC host Tiffany called a written Tiffany. I'm sure she's Tiffany Cross is not anti-white. I'm sure. She called Rittenhouse, quote, this little murderous white supremacist, close quote. Wow. Wow. Well, but it just, oh boy. You know, they're just, as journalists, they're just observing and giving you the facts, right? They're not taking any sides. They're not partisan in any way. While her colleague, Joy, accused him of benefiting from, quote, white male tears. Yeah, they want you all dead. They want you all suffering. If you're white male, they want you dead and suffering. And if you're a white female and you think you're going to escape the suffering by siding with them, it's coming for you. And thank God it is. Because too many white women are happy to take the anti-white way out and destroy the white man. It just so happens that you get a lot of things like gang raping going on. After that, you get a lot of things like mutilation and beatings and things like that from the environment once the white males are removed from the scene. As the trial got underway early this month, let's see, Hakeem, a representative, instructed the court to, quote, lock up Kyle Rittenhouse and throw away the key. This is the heart of these people. This is where they are. This is where the anti-whites are. So let's talk about, I'll take a look at what your comments are, but I have a few notes that I want to share with people because this is actually really important. We talked last week about the effect on Kyle for the rest of his life, right? He's ruined. And I know that some people have said, oh, he'll be fine. And people who are in this community who said he'll be fine, those are hopes. You know, I get it. I understand. I sympathize with you. I empathize rather with you that you want him to be fine. That's what you mean when you say, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. No big deal. No, that's your hope. But let's be real. I mean, that's like somebody coming to you and saying, they got stage 4 cancer. And you're like, you'll be fine. It's just, you're saying you hope they'll be fine. You hope somebody will cure them instead of saying you're probably going to die. And that's awful. So the reality for Kyle is, as I spelled out very clearly, I hope for everyone, is that he'll never escape these demons. He will beat himself up with the questions of, should I have gone that night? How many times along that journey of ending up down there did he think, maybe I shouldn't go? He'll relive those for the rest of his life. Because now he doesn't get a life. So he's going to be reliving for the rest of his life that he is where he is, at whatever stage he is in life. He's going to say, you know what, I really thought about not doing that when I got in the car. You know what, I really thought about not doing that when I picked up that tool for self-defense. You know what, I really thought about not doing that when I showed up. You know, I really thought about leaving when things really started getting bad. Should have left, because then XYZ. He could have had a wife that would have been his dream wife. He could have had children that he maybe has dreamt about. He could have pursued that hobby that he can't pursue now. He could have pursued that job that he can't pursue because everybody knows who Kyle Rittenhouse is. He could have gotten through a night of his life without suffering from the nightmares of that one night and maybe the days preceding when he was wondering whether or not he should. And then all the nights thereafter, when he was arrested, when he lost his freedom. If you haven't gone to jail, you have no idea what it's like to have that taken from you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's terrifying. So he is afflicted. He is branded in his soul. He can look back and he can have thousands of people chant his name and cheer him on, saying that he did the right thing. It was the only way out. I guess more importantly, it'll be maybe family members, people that are very dear to him, that will say, listen, son, there was nothing else you could do. You had to shoot those people. There was nothing else you could do. They were going to kill you, or they were going to hurt you, or they were going to maim you. But the bottom line is, and Kyle will know this is what will haunt him, is he will never know. That very first guy, he will never know what was actually going to end up happening before pulling that trigger. His mind is going to speculate again and again about what would have happened. So he has to suffer with all of the memories of all of that and everything that happened thereafter. We don't know what happened to the kid in jail, but we said here, and we talked about this last week, and then I'm going to move on, that the minute this happened, and all of these people who claim to care about our people, you really got to see a divide between those who love our people, which means the people, and those who use the harm that our people suffer from as an excuse to hate other groups of people. Because those people who use that as our victimization as an excuse to hate others, they thought it was hilarious. They loved it that he shot people down, and now he was caught and he was arrested and he had turned himself over, and now his whole family were living in fear and receiving death threats. We, on the other hand, immediately thought about the 17-year-old boy. And we were worried about him and how he was traumatized for the rest of his life. Well, we talked about that. So we're delighted that he was acquitted in this trial. But what now for him? There are a couple immediate possibilities. And I don't know if anybody else has any news, and we can take a look at it. And Jay Link is pointing out the first one, Rosenbaum, was a convicted pedophile. And that is reported all over the place. I'm not saying that is true. So you can go out and find out whether or not that was true. But I'm just a guy telling you what others are saying. Jay here asks a very juvenile question. See, this is Jay, are you just really passionate or are you dumb? Because I did not say that Kyle should have waited to pull the trigger, did I? I said Kyle is going to be haunted with the question of whether or not he should have pulled the trigger. Kyle did not know that this guy coming up to him may have been or may not have been a child molester. Kyle didn't know that at that moment. Kyle's going to wonder whether or not, maybe if he had not pulled the trigger, maybe this guy would have backed off before actually trying to disarm him. Maybe these are the thoughts that are going to be haunting Kyle. I did not say, and Jay, I hope you're not the kind of person who's going to end up in some other chat saying, well, Jason over there at Going Free said that Kyle should have waited to see what would have happened. Because if you are that kind of a person, then you are a piece of shit. So I hope you're not that kind of person. I'm going to assume you're not. So Kyle is haunted by these things. Kyle's haunted by the fact, like I was just saying, that in the decisions before that day about whether or not he should go at all. If I just would have stayed home that day. You know what? He probably had a crush, didn't he? He probably had some girl that he really wanted to talk to. He really wanted to go out on a date with. He really wanted to be interested in him. He probably had a crush. 17 years old, probably had a crush. He's probably thinking, as he sat in jail with who knows what horrible things happened to him while in jail, probably thinking, I wish I had stayed home so that I could ask Mary if she would go to the whatever movie with me. That would have been a much better life than this decision. And you think he didn't cry himself to sleep? I mean, if you don't, you don't care about our people. You're not thinking at all. You're just happy that non-white people that you hate got killed. And by the way, for all the ant-nats out there who would say, and this is a great point. I don't know, that was made to me. I don't want to say the guy who said it just in case he doesn't want me to say his name. He can say it himself. He's here in the live chat. But this first guy was Jewish, right? At least one of those guys was Jewish. So a white kid killed a Jewish guy and was acquitted. But I thought Jews, according to the ant-nats, run everything. Right? That couldn't possibly happen. So maybe their formula is not right. So let's go. I mean, again, we have to just, if folks are not going to care about Kyle, the human being, then there's nothing that can be done for them. They'll never reach adulthood. Physically they will, but mentally they won't. They'll never be a man or woman of the West if you're not thinking about what Kyle is going through, because that's going to spoil your celebration of the people he killed, right? I mean, what, you're a fucking piece of shit to behave that way. To think that, oh, well, I had all these great memes I wanted to share about him killing these people. And you're ruining it, Jason, with the truth about how he's going to suffer the rest of his life with the decision. Don't rain on my party. Don't rain on I'm selfish SOB. Don't rain on my parade. Don't tell me he's suffering from this. I'm trying to celebrate. What a loser. So he's acquitted from this, which is great. Will there be federal charges? There are many different creative ways that the federal government can press charges against him. The odds of the federal government, anti-whites in the federal government, pressing charges in various ways is probably pretty slim, because one of those guys that ended up dying and was ostensibly attacking or going to attack was a child predator, reportedly. Again, look into it for yourself. And so potential prosecutors might decide it's not going to be the easiest thing to portray that kind of person as a wholesome person that didn't deserve to have anything happen to them, right? But now we have the question of civil suits. And there is a strong likelihood that he will be sued for what he did. Now, the bar that needs to be crossed is much lower in a civil suit than what he just went through. So they will only have to prove that an ordinary person, the average person in a civil suit, the average person would have acted or could have acted differently. And that is something that would be very easy to prove, because the average person would not have gone to Kenosha with an AR-15. And the dollar amount that a jury can award is infinite. So they could award $50 million to one or more of the families that they are suing on behalf of that say that suffered as a consequence of Kyle's actions. So Kyle has to look, and by the way, and if somebody knows the statute of limitations for this type of civil suit, there may be no limitation on it. But if somebody knows the statute of limitations, or if there is one, it may be that there is no statute of limitations. So they could bring the case against Kyle tomorrow, or they could bring it in 10 years. If the statute of limitations is 20 years, then they could wait 20 years before bringing it against him. That will be a sword of Damocles over his head, waiting for that to happen until it does or does not happen. There's no guarantee, of course. Just if it hasn't happened by December of 21, maybe it happens by December of 22. Ultra Testosterone says the statute of limitations is probably 3 to 6 years for negligent homicide in Kenosha, in Wisconsin, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be negligent homicide. So no cap to the amount that could be awarded to the family or families should they win that. And they don't have to prove, the plaintiffs do not have to prove intent. Do you understand? They only have to prove negligence. Would a normal person have acted the same way that Kyle acted? Well, a normal person, your average person, would not have gone to Kenosha. So it seems like a pretty easy case for not a guarantee. I'm not going to say that it's a guarantee, but it does seem like, well, depending upon what they allow into the case, what they allow to be argued. But they can argue that no normal person, no average person would have gone to Kenosha knowing what was going on there. And therefore, their client's son, brother, whatever it was, would be alive today had Kyle just not done that. So you could have a situation where Kyle finds that not only is he suffering in his soul and in his mind and his memories for the rest of his life, but he also has to suffer if he is sued and loses from any job. And by the way, how easy is it for him to be able to get a decent job in the world for the rest of his life? What kind of job is he going to get? What kind of schooling is he going to be able to really focus on after having gone through all of this? What kind of job is he going to, when he shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm Kyle Rittenhouse. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, the guy that was on the trial and shot a bunch. Wow, I don't know that our company is really going to be able to have a nice day. You're a white guy, and that's going to make it even worse. So get out. So whatever job he gets, if he's sued and he loses, he's looking at having his entire life's wages garnished, because he's never going to be able to pay back 10, 50 million, 100 million. Who knows what they could award? Don't people remember that guy? What was the guy in the New York subway? The idiot who then came forward and he said, yeah, that he was the one. Was his last name Getz? What was that guy? So he's looking at that. But then, of course, you have the issue of he and his family have to worry about being stalked, hunted, maimed, murdered. Retribution is what the anti-whites, of course, will call it, for the rest of their lives. So I would say, regrettably, that Kyle is, and then I'm going to share with you all something really important, the profound revelation. And maybe you're seeing it already in the live chat. I mean, I'll take a look by some people. But the odds that Kyle, at some point in the future, is going to kill himself are much higher than for the average person. He's going to be haunted by these demons of that night, the days leading up, the nights in jail, the nights in the shower in jail, the trial itself. You saw exactly what we talked about how deep that trauma is when he got and again, no one contacted me to apologize. All those people who came out and said, "Oh no, he's fine. He's not going to have any trauma. He's a champion. He's wonderful. He's riding high." And then we saw on that stand how right we were here in Going Free. When he had that, when you got to see firsthand the trauma in his brain. He's never getting away from that. He's living with that. He's going to be hunted by anti-whites. His family will be hunted. Things will happen at their property. Maybe just a prank in a couple years. Maybe some kids will come by. They're just bored one night and they egg the front of the house. Right? Kids do that kind of stupid stuff sometimes. Kyle's family, of course, is going to immediately think, this is the beginning. They're going to get us now. Are these the anti-whites showing up? Is it eggs today and bullets tomorrow? That's the kind of future they have to live with for the rest of their lives. Then Kyle's going to have his hard time getting a job, keeping a job, getting the kind of job that he would have always wanted and deserved. How would you like to live with those thoughts? All right, I want to thank Carlisle, who has messaged me and said there is no statute of limitations. No statute of limitations for negligent homicide. Do you hear that? For the rest of his life, he will have to worry about them suing him for the rest of his days on earth. No statute of limitations. So he's going to, how'd you like to ask yourself this? How would you like to wonder, well, I have this garbage job. What kind of job could I have had today if all the way back then I hadn't done X, Y, and Z? So he's got to live with that. The odds that this guy, what kind of wife would he have ended up with? What kind of, he's going to be questioning every single thing. So the odds that he's going to end up committing suicide, high, pretty high compared to the average person, especially in the white male category, which suicide rates going through the roof. Take on top of those suicide rates, everything that this kid has had to go through. And then what's going to happen? What do you think the people, the white negative folks are going to say? If God willing, I hope, please don't let this happen. Please prevent it. But if this guy ends up becoming man, I guess he's 18, legally a man now. If he ends up killing himself 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now, what are these white negatives going to say? They're going to blame the anti-whites. They're not going to blame themselves. And they are going to be the ones who are responsible for the kid killing himself, because they were the ones who encouraged this kind of behavior. They were the ones who celebrated this kind of behavior. They were the ones who said, somebody's got to do it. And when they do it, it's going to be the coolest thing ever. It's going to be the most epic thing ever. They are the ones responsible, but they will be blaming. I guarantee you that with all of their claptrap and their priggish pontifications from lecterns and from microphones, they'll be saying the anti-whites did this to him. Or they won't say anti-white. Maybe they will. They'll be using it, and they'll say they have always used it. But the anti-whites did this to Kyle. Now he killed himself. Those bastards. Now we have even more reason to hate the puppies and the this and the that. Just look, we did some research and we found out that there was somebody who came to his house, and out of the 300 people that harassed him, one of them was Jewish. Therefore. So they won't be blaming, they won't be pointing the finger in the right direction. You know what happens? I'm sure you've all seen that when you point your finger at someone, you got three pointing back at you. They won't be looking at their own behavior at all, because they're classless dogs. That's what they are. Okay, here's the thing I want to share. There are people right now who, in the aftermath of the trial, are seeing the acquittal. They're talking about the acquittal. And if you've seen this, I want you to share it in the live chat. or in the thread later, talking about this acquittal as though it is some sort of validation of their encouragement to this kind of behavior, which ultimately ends up in what can be defined as a vigilantism. So they are looking at the acquittal and they're saying, look, he was acquitted of his behavior on that night. And then they are erroneously concluding that that is a validation of their encouragement, their exhortation, their hortatory lectures about behaving in such a way. And now what are they doing? They're saying that others have to do it because now they have this validation. Now they can celebrate it even more. The people who just sit behind their phones and their keyboards and encourage children to go out with firearms. Because look, it's legitimate to do it. Does anybody see there what such people are revealing about themselves? It's something very deep, something really profound. I don't know if I should talk about it in a way and talk about them in a way that might, I don't know, maybe shave off some of the value maybe of what I'm about to say. Validation is permission. Is it not? Who gives permission and who receives permission? The superior gives permission. The subordinate or the inferior receives permission. Everyone who is talking this way and coming to this conclusion are admitting that they are so under the water of the anti-white narrative that they don't know they're a crab at the bottom of the Pacific. They are admitting that they are no more than pawns, bitches in someone else's story. That what is moral and immoral for them is whatever the anti-whites tell them is moral and immoral. Whatever is legal and illegal for them is whatever the anti-whites tell them is legal and illegal for them. They are nothing more. They are drones. They are a perfect personification of a non-player character. They are moving around with wires attached to their arms and legs and mouths and a hand firmly up their asses. They are nothing. They're not even living. They admit that they are subjects to a higher power, the anti-whites, who decide everything for them. They have received permission, and so therefore it is now okay. Well, I'm going to share with you all a meme curative, and I haven't had an opportunity to look in GoFree to see if it's already in GoFree. It's one it should be. It's one I've used for a great many years and successfully for a great many years. It's been very helpful for me and very helpful for folks that I have shared it with. And that meme curative speaks directly to what is going on in this particular case with these people who are saying that now they have permission to behave this way. It's by way of the validation, by way of the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse's behavior in Kenosha. We say, the meme curative, we never look to the anti-white to give us permission, validation, or approval for our views and actions to be legitimate, responsible, and moral. In fact, I'm just remembering now that in one of my earliest videos, I think I used this MC in one of my earliest videos. So we never look to the anti-whites to give us permission, validation, or approval for our views and actions to be legitimate, responsible, and moral. What does that do for us? How does that make us different? That means it doesn't matter what the anti-whites are saying The anti-white oligarchs, the anti-whites at courts, the anti-whites in the papers, the anti-whites in the media. It doesn't matter what they say, because we're in our own story. This is how the concepts of going free us of the burden of being in the anti-white narrative and therefore manipulated by the anti-whites. Let me quickly see what you all are saying, and we're just going to keep rolling here. I see we have some more scum have shown up, and the moderators will be taking care of all the scum. Dean Wood is here. Great to see you, brother. Hello, hello. And Ultra Testosterone saying 100% truth. Bro, you have good points. Thank you for that, brother. Coconut is with us. Wonderful to see you. Johan. Rory is with us. Says he disagrees about something. Let's see what it is. Kyle will be able to sue many media outlets for libel or defamation or character for a lot more money. Rory, he will be able to do that, but he's not going to win. I mean, when have you, the odds of Kyle winning these cases is infinitesimal. And if anything, what will happen is if there is a certainty for a media outlet, they might just throw a few thousands his way, tens of thousands even maybe, and then that'll be it. And his lawyer will say to him, you better take it because the odds of us winning in court are small. And what's it going to matter also if he sues and let's say succeeds in winning, let's say $200,000, $400,000, pick a number from a media outlet, which I think is unlikely, then what is that going to do to those who can sue him for negligent homicide? If now they know that Kyle has nothing to sue him for, but now he's got $500,000 to be sued for, what is that going to do? And then what happens to the $500,000 when the jury says that Kyle is responsible for $300 million? The FBI under Biden will probably charge him with a hate crime or RICO violation. It's not impossible, says Ultra Testosterone. That's not impossible, but they do have the problem with one of the victims potentially being a child molester and convicted of it. Bernard Getz. Does anybody know how much? Thank you for Null. Does anybody know how much Bernard Getz, his victims were awarded? Wasn't he something like a TV repairman or something? And how much were his victims awarded? And this was in a day that was far less anti-white than today. Ultra Testosterone, Pants is here. Great to see you, brother. Ultra Testosterone says, you need to lead the nationalist space. You have a far higher IQ than these other clowns. That's funny. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And they know that. That's why one of the reasons they hate so much. They look at all of the very bright people in going free, and they just get very jealous. All right, let's see. Scroll through this, and I will refresh that, and we're going to keep moving because bass guitarist. I understand what Jason's saying. My heart goes out to Kyle. And he's bass guitarist is ultimately saying he hopes that Kyle will be fine. Yeah, saying that you think he will be fine is saying that you hope he will be fine. I get that. I hope he will do as well as he possibly can. given the horror that has to go with him for the rest of his life. I agree with that. Okay, listen to this. Fornall just shared the info on Bernard Goetz that way back when that happened, this guy who was just like had a regular job, was successfully sued for $43 million. $43 million. That means he never can own anything. Who wants that? Who thinks Kyle will be genuinely? Who thinks Kyle will be okay if you're not understanding the emotional trauma and the spiritual trauma of what he went through? Who thinks he'll be okay if he's successfully sued for $43 million and never be able to own anything in his life? It was in the 1980s. The 1980s. Gosh, long time ago. All right, we'll see. We're going to refresh over here, make sure we didn't miss anybody on Cash App. We didn't. So people should stop vicariously fighting through children. It's sick. Don't vicariously fight through children. And if you have, look in the mirror and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's terrible. I'm not going to behave like that anymore. That is not how a man of the West or a woman of the West behaves. None of our greatest thinkers, generals, leaders, none of them. Name any of them. Name any of them. And can you fathom them for a moment? Giggling and being happy and making memes, cartoons about a child doing what they would not have, what they couldn't do, what they wouldn't do. I mean, come on. This is what we have to, when it comes to the white sympathetic sphere. I mean, it's the house has to be cleaned. We have to separate those who are really unhealthy. The reality is, as we hit the 7 o'clock hour, 2 hours into this, that in civilization, all civilizations, you're going to have the different strata of people. And there's going to be a strata at the very bottom who are dysfunctional for numerous reasons. It could be that they were raised in dysfunctional environments. It could be genetic. It could be an oppressive narrative by the state, which is what we have here, that causes people to be dysfunctional. It could be a lot of things. And then they don't fit in to society. There are going to be other people that also don't fit into society, but just hold that thought. So these people at the bottom, they begin looking for some place to go where they can have camaraderie or friendship or whatever to the best of their ability, which is not good because they're scum. That's how it might not be their fault that they're scum. Might be their fault. I mean, once you're an adult, you know, the burden is on you. You have agency. And if you decide to be scum, that's it. You're scum. Don't care what happened before then. You can make the decision to do the right thing. You can make the decision to do the wrong thing. There are other people in society who don't fit in. Good people, honorable people, classy people. Especially in a sick society, the best don't fit in. So they also look for some place to go. In our case, in our lives, one of those places that people who don't fit in can go is the white sympathetic sphere. The best of civilization, the best of our people, head to that sphere, and the worst head to that sphere. And we have allowed for far too long the worst of our people to continue to manipulate, to ruin, to desecrate, to defile genuine, honest, successful efforts to reclaim our destiny. We cannot allow the scum to continue to defile and undermine, misrepresent, and destroy the efforts of the good. Note that I didn't say the perfect, but the good. We cannot allow the scum to pull down the good. And so at some point, it's going to have to happen. There's going to have to be some sort of a house cleaning. And there's going to have to be a consensus that the scum, the riffraff, the etc. are kicked out, shut down, whatever it has to be, because they're endeavoring to shut down everything that we're doing. They're endeavoring to shut down me personally. So at some point, we're going to have to decide that the vile are going to have to be silenced legally. All right, we're going to get on to the Going Free lesson of the day. No breaks. No breaks. We'll get to one, though. We're going to get into this right now. Never defend against anti-white attacks. This is the instruction manual that will save your life. It has saved 9 lives. There may be more, but regrettably, I'm not counting anybody unless they say it publicly. And I will say that people are afraid to say it publicly now for the ridicule that others who have publicly said that they were on the path to suicide, found go free, and have turned away. They found their inner value as a consequence by way of the practice, and they are now reclaiming their lives by treating themselves for their MP infections. And they are being ridiculed and slandered as cult members by white negative, ant-nat, and otherwise villain playing slime of the earth. So there are more, but unfortunately, mind you, now these people who talk about cults, especially the ant-nats, this is a practice that, not a group, that you can participate in, leave at will, come at will. It's like having a gym membership, like having a diet plan. You don't have to go to your nutritionist, right? You don't have to go to the gym and work out. But in the ant-nat circles, there are endless litmus tests. You damn well better pass every single litmus test. You better be talking about this race of people over here, and you better think of them exactly this way. You better hate them just right. You better talk about Bolsheviks and liberals and Marxists. You better talk about all these different things, because if you don't, they destroy your life and they run you out of their community. That sounds a lot more like a cult to me. But of course, we know they're guilty of projection. So, page 164 in Go Free, 2nd edition, iteration 2. It may surprise you, but one of the most important lessons you have to learn is to never defend yourself against anti-white verbal attacks. We live in a world dominated by anti-whites and anti-white social dictates. This creates a significant advantage for anti-whites in every debate. The anti-white narrative and environment in which we live forces debate to begin from anti-white baselines. Anti-white professionals from a host of disciplines related to persuasion have and continue to arm anti-whites with an arsenal of weaponized words and deceptive argumentation tactics designed to force their victims onto the defensive. These include anti-white slurs, racist, supremacist, fascist, equivalence fallacies, per capita fallacies, appeals to emotion, non sequiturs, exceptional cases, ad hominem attacks, etc. However, the greatest adversary you face when verbally attacked by an anti-white is yourself, your own MP infections. When you try to answer a deceptive anti-white argument, your subconscious mind drowns your conscious mind with the same deceptive MPs that the anti-white is using to attack you. Each of these MPs cripples your conscious mind with their associated interpretive mandates, emotions that condemn you as immoral for opposing anti-white positions, emotions that also define your anti-white attacker as moral. Now, recall that your conscious mind is the slow biplane, while your subconscious mind is the supersonic jet. As a result, the MPs you are infected with ambush every conscious response you try to formulate. If you are honest with yourself, you will admit that you have struggled to formulate responses to anti-white verbal attacks. You will recall witnessing the pained expressions on the faces of others who have tried to formulate responses to their anti-white attackers. And just a little bit more from the next page. When you are verbally attacked, your conscious mind clumsily fumbles from one ambushed thought to the next, while your anti-white attacker smugly gloats over you. When, for example, an anti-white implies or calls you an anti-white slur, such as bigot, because you object to an anti-white program that will discriminate against whites in favor of non-whites, your conscious mind is instantly filled with the thoughts and emotions associated with the MPs related to the topic. For example, those who want to favor non-whites at the expense of whites are, quote, honorable, intelligent, selfless, and attractive. They are doing the right thing. Those who disagree are, quote, dishonorable, unintelligent, selfish, and ugly. Unwillingly and often unwittingly, your mind instantly places the anti-white in the moral positive category and you in the immoral negative category. You are also instantly aware that anyone observing the disagreement has also placed the anti-white and you in the same positive and negative categories. That, my friends, is one of the most powerful, understanding this is one of the most powerful things you can come to understand in our world. Because how many guys out there have, or we could say women too, have been with their spouse or brother or sister, whatever it might be, and you're having an argument with somebody about you arguing against something that's anti-white, or maybe you're just talking to your spouse. You're at a restaurant and you're talking to your spouse about something that's anti-white, and you get animated, your voice gets a little loud, and then suddenly your spouse, your friend, the person you're with says, shh, 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 don't say that so loud. Don't say that so loud. How many times does that happen? It happened to everybody. Anybody saying, oh, no, never me, is just a liar. That's happened to everybody. Don't say that so loud. Why is that? Why is that happening? Because both you and your audience know what is in everybody else's heads, the anti-white narrative. They know that everybody hearing are going to place you, the person giving the speech, and your audience is going to know they will also place him or her in the category of being immoral, an outcast from society, a hater, a bigot, all of these anti-white slurs. You have to deal with this if you are going to succeed in recapturing your own personal destiny and the destiny of our people. The answers for how to do that are in this guidebook. Let's jump over to, we're going to keep rolling. I already used up a bunch of time. Jumping back to the glossary, page 189, we're going to talk about what is an anti-white lens. What is an anti-white lens? It is a perspective promoted by anti-whites that leads to anti-white conclusions. Example, selectively ignoring or minimizing the suffering of Westmen while emphasizing while ignoring the suffering of Westmen while emphasizing the suffering of non-whites, or holding Westmen to higher standards of morality and agency while providing endless excuses for the behavior of non-whites and anti-whites of all races. That is an anti-white lens. How many times have you been in a discussion with someone who is using an anti-white lens? When it comes to white people, there is this moral standard. There is this ethical standard. And when it comes to anti-whites, non-white or white, there's this lower standard. They're expected to not have to abide by the same morality. They're expected to not have to abide by the same customs and mores. It's understandable, it's okay, etc. Well, you learn how to deal with that in the practice of going free. Did you learn how to deal with it anywhere else? Not in the white sympathetic sphere. You think you're going to break out a bunch of data about how awful non-white races are, and that's somehow going to work with the person who is working with a different moral structure than you, a different moral matrix? Never defend against anti-white attacks. We're going to see what you all are saying quickly over here on entropy, and then I will refresh this, and we're going to get into announcements and your calls and comments coming up right next. The great tall Kevin in with a $3 financial gift writes here, could Kyle be turned into a folk hero by some? Also help his morale, similar to how the U.S. military was received after the first Gulf War, compensating for the way the public received Vietnam? Compensate, or do you mean comparing to the way the Vietnam veterans were treated when they returned? Of course, they were spat on, etc. Here's the problem. Nothing that anybody does, it's a great question, Kevin. Nothing that anybody does is going to be able to rid Kyle of the questions about what his life would have been like, and the questions about if he hadn't done any of this, and the questions about should he have pulled the trigger. Taking someone's life it's not like the movies. It's not like the movies. So he'll be wondering. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a decent guy in the future for him to say, well, I haven't, led the life I wanted to lead, but at least I have my life. Because the people that he shot dead don't. Even if they deserved it. You can hold both views. Why would you want to saddle somebody with that, right? And that goes into my point. Ticker tape parades and everything with Kyle riding on top is going to, like drugs, briefly divert his attention. But then he has to go back to himself. Then he's alone again. So lauding him is going to be a brief diversion for him, very brief. And then he's back alone again with the reality of his life, the fears that he has to face, the threats on his family, the threats on his life, the threat of being sued for the rest of his life civilly, the etc. Everything we've talked about. Here's where it gets bad. If people celebrate Kyle as a folk hero, more children's lives will be ruined because kids will not be able to comprehend, or even adults out there, and beyond those kids, but I'll just talk about the kids or the adults. They will see this laudation. They will see the plaudits. They will see people celebrating Kyle for what he did. His behavior as they see it. They see him. I mean, you look at these cartoons that people are making. They see him as some sort of like vigilante, Steve McQueen, whatever. He went out there and he put the villains down. He does not see himself like that. Does anybody care about this kid? He was giving medical aid to everyone, including the anti-whites. He does not see himself as some John Wayne character that went out there and blasted the bad guys and now he's the hero. He doesn't see himself like that. So that's going to be just a diversion. But what you do with a celebration of this fictional Kyle, not the real Kyle, but the fictional Kyle celebration, is going to engender new Kyle Rittenhouses. It's going to cause more children or more young adults to go out and to say, well, I was put in a position where I had nothing to do but blast every single one of them. And those guys are going to end up with the same trauma for the rest of their lives. And how many of them do you think are going to end up, being acquitted? And how many of them are going to spend the rest of their lives in jail, being raped or whatever else, losing their everything, and the lawsuits that follow them, the civil suits that follow them after that? And now we're just talking about the individuals, which is infinitely important because we're all just individuals. But what about for us as a people? What happens when there's all of this praise for the fictional Kyle Rittenhouse, the John Wayne Kyle, who went out there to kill the villains, when that's not what he went out there to do at all? And it engenders others to go out there and start blasting a bunch of non-white people who have come out to just protest police brutality, talk, going to property, assistance to him, turning him into Harry, blast guns will come up. Let's not need a year now or do some other that I just fruition. Not been trying. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. And to CPAC, and it would be a very comedian on stage. They get are does every single one be a that community. So it looks like this might be bottled. Is it right now? Are we through? Okay. We don't want to fictionalize Kyle and then encourage more Kyles. Isn't that interesting? That no, it seems to be happening. It says here on my very bad lagging. 1 second, folks, trying to fix the lagging issue, if there is a way to fix it. Let's do a song and see if it is fixed. See if I can do something. Brand's saying the stream is good now. Might be fixed. Where did I cut out? What was exactly what I was saying? I don't want to repeat myself. Good right now, everybody's saying. Do not laud some fictional Kyle because it satisfies some sort of vicarious need to strike back at the anti-whites. It's going to be a diversion for Kyle, and then he will be just checking really quickly. Jeez. At least 5 minutes. Let's do a song. I'll see if what I can do on this end. Odd that it would go out right when I was talking about that.
To convict him of his crime. mercy as deep as the ocean. Forbearance is old as the stars. But oceans will boil and stars will explode if their limits are pushed too far. Shed his cloak and shadow the mask to thwart their evil plan. With cosmic clay and flame of life, he vanished without a trace. For his mind wasn't trembled by guilt once the mask was removed from his face. His genius as deep as the ocean, cunning as bright as the stars, a will to power awakened by those who pushed him too far.
Hear the signal of my surrender, and see now my rising. But the genius of Prometheus, untrammeled by the bit and hardness of guilt, reawakened to the vigor of mastery, now gave thought to peerless cunning, dissimulation and deceit. Realms of thought and action once mastered by Gorthing, bending now their knees to a new master. I too can master agendas concealed and dissemble without fear. I too can bring death to my enemies, yea, more so than you.
Those are two musical geniuses. And is everybody able to hear me okay now? Is it lagging at all? Very interesting how sometimes it's never like it's something silly that the stream goes weird. You might have to, the screen is blurry. Yeah, it sure is. You might have to refresh. The sound is good though. Blurry video. Good grief. Well, let's do this for right now. What I was saying, I'll just sum up so we can keep rolling, is that if you laud and turn Kyle into some sort of folk hero, then you will engender more Kyle Rittenhouses, and we don't want that. We don't want people going out there ruining their lives for some sort of selfish, vicarious thrill. It's not going to take back our destiny. The anti-whites will use such actions to justify increased strictures and the breaking of laws to victimize Western kind. Kyle did not see himself as a John Wayne character going out to take out the bad guys. He was a sensitive, or is a sensitive kid who went out to protect property and to render medical attention to anyone and everyone who needed medical attention. And so it would be at best a brief diversion from what he is experiencing, everything we've talked about in his life. And then as soon as the ticker tape parade was done, he would be right back into that personal hell and fear. It's a great question, Kevin. I'm glad you asked it. Thank you. But we definitely don't want anything else like this to happen again. We don't want any more young people or folks of any age to go out to where anti-white terror troops have landed and are destroying civilization and engage in something that Kyle did. Because this, I was just defending myself, is it's not going to work with other judges and juries. And so that great question. Thank you. And let's see, Remrep, financially gifting 5 Canadian. Thank you so much, brother. Says, really cool to hear about your development. I thank you for warning us about the traps you fell into and the ultimate goals of Ant-Nat leaders. I fell into those same traps and saw it too, just at a much faster rate online. We must do better. Thank you so much for that testimonial, Remrep. That's really important. That you said that. Thank you for the financial gift, but really thank you for that testimonial. We need to stay away from these traps of playing the villain, and we need to discourage. We need to be, if we're going to be making memes or something that have Kyle in them, we should be remembering Kyle and not this fictionalized Kyle that is a Dirty Harry. We should be encouraging the behavior of going free, because there's no amount. Remember this idea that there is this very brief, visceral, vicarious, some of the anti-whites got something they dish out. But we're not here for some sort of brief, vicarious joy at the expense of some child's life. And we're here to reclaim our destiny. And that's going to take real work, hard work over the long haul. Tall Kevin back again with $5 more. Thank you so much, good brother. He writes, use the money and get some better Wi-Fi. That's funny. No, it's not the Wi-Fi. But he says, you must be using America Online dial-up. That's great. I remember how bad it was in high school. It would take an hour for certain videos to load. By the way, would you ever want to have streams on Radio Albion besides PWR? Well, are they interested in restreaming me? Let me know if they are. We want to get to as many people as we possibly can, because we have to be changing. We have to be changing the norm. Let me turn back around and make sure that we still have good stream health. And yes, it does look like, is the video still blurry for everyone? Probably so. It appears that someone got very perturbed at me talking about discouraging people from encouraging more Kyle Rittenhouses. Well, looks like there may be already things are going on. Dean Woods is okay, and there's JK160. Great to see you. Donning Armor says it seems all right now. There's the great Elaine Sabatino. And it does look like there is some, I'll go ahead and read this to you. It looks like there's a mass casualty event reported at, let's see, a Christmas parade. And let's see, it says car plows through police barricade and shoots at bystanders. Mass casualty event has been reported. This, of course, this is in Wisconsin during a Christmas parade. A red SUV. I don't know if any of this is true. And it is being reported, though. And let's see. Red SUV allegedly broke through the police line, plowed through pedestrians, and began firing rounds out of the window. It is unclear at this time how many people have been injured or killed. However, at least 4 people have been reported as having been hit and not moving. Yeah, that's not a good sign. So there doesn't appear to be any more information here about who or what could be behind that. In Northern Virginia, there have been warnings about potential attacks from people of other persuasions, and that shoppers should be on the lookout. And that might be what's going on here. I don't know. Popcorn Power says, video is fine for me. Other person may just need to exit or restart his or her browser. Okay, that's great. Monica's here. Hello to you. Elaine Sabatino says it's easy to fall into making a martyr out of Kyle because, well, hero, I guess, because we need men like him in medicine, law enforcement, etc. When we recapture our destiny, especially during a crisis like this. Yeah, well, I mean, we just need to remember that, you know, the kid who went out there is not John Wayne. That's not what he went out there to do. And now he has to live with the horror of it, that you saw, the horror that's in his head every day, that you saw on the stand. So we should remember and prevent such things from happening in the future, because they're just going to be used. They're just going to ruin the kid's life or the guy's life, and it's going to be used against us. So there's nothing fun or funny or heroic about a 17-year-old boy going out to give medical attention to people and to protect the dealerships where the cars are, so in the hopes that people wouldn't come and set fire on cars, break the windows. He certainly did not think that he was going to have to kill people. And by the way, if he's sued and he loses in the lawsuit civilly, he would be a he would be a murderer according to the law. So keep that in mind. Apollo says he saw some of the video of what took place in Wisconsin today, and he says it's horrific. My God. Well, I can pull up some news and see if there's anything else here. Pulling something up right now, and I will tell you what we have. You could tell me if the stream is still functioning properly. All right, looks like there's Waukesha, Wisconsin SUV sped into a Christmas parade in the Milwaukee suburb of Waukesha on Sunday, leaving multiple people injured. According to the city's mayor and witnesses, police in Waukesha, located about 20 miles west of Milwaukee, were urging people to avoid the downtown area. Washington Post says is it going to let me read it? No, I don't think so. I'll try somebody else. Mass casualties reported. There have been reports that there is a mass casualty event after a car has driven through a crowd at the Waukesha Holiday Parade in Wisconsin Sunday evening. As reported by NBC affiliate, the incident occurred during a live stream. There is a large police presence. You might want to capture the video, folks, if you're able, before they begin deleting it, because if there is any evidence of the person or people who were in the SUV, if it doesn't fit the anti-white narrative, they'll be deleting that. It is unclear how many people are injured or if the driver has been apprehended. This is an ongoing story and will be updated as more information is available. Looks like all of the many injured after car plows through Waukesha Christmas parade. One local outlet reports a, quote, massive police presence and many ambulances in the downtown area of the city of Waukesha on Sunday following the mass casualty event. Multiple people have reportedly been injured in a mass casualty incident after a car plowed through a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin on Sunday. According to CBS, the parade area was evacuated around 5 p.m. local time following reports of possible shots fired. So we don't know if the shots were fired by the person in the SUV or if the shots were fired by police. If anybody watched the video and they saw the driver shooting, then you can chime in. But these might have been shots fired by police to obviously stop the person driving the SUV. Footage from the parade posted on the City of Waukesha Facebook page shows a red SUV blazing down the roadway after a marching band passes by while playing Jingle Bells. One witness told the station that a group called the Dancing Grannies were among those hit by the car, with at least 4 members on the ground in front of their family. You all probably remember the anti-white mayor in London saying that these sorts of terrorist attacks are just part and parcel of living in a big country. I mean, what he meant, of course, is the kind of country that he comes from. But it's not part and parcel of big events and cities that we create. But I'll continue. Members of another marching band were also struck shortly before entering the shot around 22 minutes 40 seconds into the clip. A car horn can be heard honking at some witnesses seemingly scream at the site. Police can then be seen rushing down the street toward the scene. Were the police on foot? Were they in police cars? A video shared by a user on Twitter also shows a red SUV barreling through barricades on the road. Another witness told WISN 12 on Facebook that the SUV struck the group, sending one person flying over the hood. Anti-whiteism, ladies and gentlemen. Use this event to talk about how this is normalcy in anti-white civilization. This is what people are going to have to be used to and fear, and use the key concepts: anti-white, anti-whiteism, anti-white narrative, Western kind, white erasure in your conversations. That is the most powerful thing you can do. It is infinitely more powerful than wielding an AR-15. It is infinitely more powerful than any sort of threat. Waukesha police have advised people to avoid the downtown area at this time. A family reunification center has been set up at the Metro Transit Center by Bank Street, according to an update from the department on Facebook. This is a developing story. Let me see what you all are saying about this. And if you all know anything, if you have any stories, mods, if you have any stories that look revelatory and are worthwhile, I'll take a look at them. Lockie says, a car almost hit a little girl dancing. Horrific. People saying the stream is working now. That's good to hear. Maybe I'll come back on camera soon. We will do this. All right, let me see what you all are saying over here. Yeah, it was big city. He specifically said a big city, but he just means it's normal for where he comes from. Ursa Major is here. Great to see you. Oxstone is here. Welcome. Hello to you. Mycroft, hello. Western Renaissance. Archangel, great to see you all. Anglo America, great to see you, brother. All right, well, I'll turn back to this story. Looks like we have John Financially Gifts over here on Entropy, $7. Says, hi, Jason. Johnny Reb here. Oh, it was great to see you, good brother. 3 points, he writes. 1, thank God Kyle Rittenhouse received justice. Amen to that. 2, critical race theory must be stopped because it's anti-white. Precisely. Critical race theory is just a subset of anti-whiteism. And then he adds, do you hear me, Karlin Borsenko? That's great. 3, sending best wishes to Grandma and her munchkin. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Johnny Reb. And I will swivel back around here because we have some financial good. We have the great I Love Jesus Christ is here. Let's seeing a financial gift from I Love Jesus Christ. Let's give a moment, if you can. You believe in Jesus Christ. You believe in a creator. You believe in some of the pagan beliefs. Pray for those who are injured at this Christmas parade. Christmas is going to become an increasingly dangerous part of the year for white people. And it will continue to be dangerous until white people are not there to practice Christianity. As soon as Christianity is all non-white, then it will be safe again. I Love Jesus Christ financially gifts $10. Thank you so much, sister. And writes here, for White Wellbeing. God bless you. Thank you. Art Acrobats financially gifts $4.11. Thank you, brother. Says, for Kyle's case proves that anti-whites want us all dead. That is exactly correct. Absolutely. They want us all dead. You're not even allowed in their minds as a white person, especially a white male, to prevent yourself from being mutilated, disfigured, beaten, and even murdered. You prevent that from happening to yourself, and you deserve to be executed. That's why we get out of their story. The Great Sloths has financially gifted $2. God bless you, brother. He says, Kyle said, quote, it's not about race, and that he supports BLM. Sloths, when did he say that? And do you have a link for that somewhere? Because that's, very telling. We know that Kyle went out there, and very important for the totality of understanding what's happening here. We know that he went out there, and now we have these two parallel events happening. Somebody driving through a Christmas parade, according to the news, just this evening. At what time did it happen? It might have been while we were live that it happened, or just before. And here you have Kyle, and people want to turn him into some sort of vicarious Dirty Harry for them. And is it true that he actually supports BLM? And their fictional Kyle will engender more white young men or men of any age to go out there and do things that will end up ruining their lives. Let's see. Says here, Kyle says, quote, I'm not a racist person. Rittenhouse says he supports BLM movement, and his case never had anything to do with race. So I'm guessing now that the people who want to turn him into a vicarious Dirty Harry are somehow going to mind read him and know that he was actually out there to gun down folks, that he didn't mean what he said there. I can't. It is to a degree. It is stupefying, the number of errors that people make. Let's see what else we have here. Multiple injured in ramming attack on Wisconsin Christmas parade. More than 20 people were struck and injured shortly before 5 p.m. Sunday afternoon when a red SUV plowed through the Waukesha Christmas parade about 25 minutes outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Video footage of the parade showed the SUV speeding through the parade, ramming into marchers, followed by several police cars. So there you have, the police were actually chasing this vehicle. Wow, they have photographs of I guess this is the vehicle at a house. There were reports of shots fired as well, possibly by the occupants of the SUV, which were located a short time later. Photos appear to show the red SUV involved in the Waukesha holiday parade incident. This is a red SUV in the driveway of a home. Personnel from the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives were called to the scene in what police are calling a mass casualty incident. So my question is, were the police chasing this vehicle and the occupants of this vehicle? And did they intend to head to the parade, or did they find themselves fleeing from the police and suddenly at the parade? Were they intending to be at the parade and run people down, but the anti-white media is now going to tell us that they were just on drugs and didn't intend to hit anyone? At least 12 police units were deployed, along with a dozen or more fire trucks and ambulances. Some of the injured self-transported to local hospitals, and others were transported in police vehicles. Wisconsin Governor Evers said in a statement, Tony, we'll call him, posted to Twitter that he and his wife are praying for Waukesha tonight and all the kids, families, and community members affected by this senseless act. I'm grateful for the first responders and folks who acted quickly to help and who are in contact with local partners, and we await more information. Now, I wonder if, not a genuine question, Evers is going to step down for having implemented anti-white policies that have led to the deaths of these people, and that he will own that the blood is on his hands for what happened in the Waukesha parade. We'll see. When you create lawless environments, criminals and lawless people ruin people's lives. A family reunification center was set up at the Metro Transit Center on Bank Street. The identity of the attacker is not yet known. Elaine says BLM is what got Kyle into this mess he's in. Geez. Cucker Tarlson is airing an interview with Kyle tomorrow night, Jason. Well, interesting. So yeah, he ends up going there. He's on trial. You think he's going to be, folks, you think he's going to be fine? He's telling everybody he's a big supporter of BLM. Art Acrobat says the truck story is on News Nation now on YouTube. Well, does that mean everybody leaves here now? Magpie says, thank you for the wise advice about our appropriate response to the Kyle trial acquittal. We all can temper the, quote, hero memes by reminding our social media peeps of the future the boy is facing. Thank you for that maturity. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Well, how do we live in this world where there isn't any maturity anymore, where there aren't any men and women of the West? Just a bunch of children celebrating the vicarious thrill they get. Alex says Kyle is deep in MPs and the anti-white narrative. Yeah, he is. That's a shame. He's absolutely traumatized. Mycroft says the SUV blew through a barricade. The police followed from there. So there were police cars who were not previously in pursuit, is potentially what's being said. Let's swivel around here and we will take another look. Waukesha Christmas Parade. Accident shooting today. Waukesha, Wisconsin Parade evacuated. Accident shooting. I'm going to mute for 1 second. All right, I didn't want to play the audio of that clip, and it was a clip of the SUV plowing through the barricades and police shooting. I'm assuming it was police officers shooting at the SUV. I didn't hear sirens, so there doesn't appear to be that there were police in pursuit prior to the SUV reaching the parade. let's see. Mayor says he just spoke with Waukesha PD, confirms a vehicle drove through a barricade at Christmas parade, injuring multiple people. He says Waukesha PD to provide info on the PD's Facebook page. All right. That does not appear to be any more updated, so we'll take a step back. And we'll see what we have here on this. Okay, that has not been updated. Waukesha parade shooting, car running into people, reports. Waukesha, Wisconsin. Police say they quote, are having an emergency with a scene unfolding, close quote, after multiple local residents told heavy a vehicle ran through the city's Christmas parade, plowing into many people. I guess maybe is this called heavy? Yeah, it's called heavy. Okay, told heavy. A vehicle ran through the city's Christmas parade, plowing into many people, with shots being fired. An officer said that there were as many as 40 people wounded. 40. So the number is way up there, if that's to be believed. We hope it's not that many, but it definitely could be. The parade doesn't appear to have been, at least in the images I've seen, that the streets were packed or anything of that nature. So that would reduce the number of those injured and killed. Many as 40 people wounded or dead on the scanner. So that was heard on the scanner. Extremely graphic video emerged from the scene. You can watch some later in this article, but be forewarned, they are extremely disturbing. Local residents told Heavy, this is the news source, that their loved ones were barricaded in stores after vehicle drove through the crowd with someone firing gunshots from it. They reported many people lying on the ground, injured or dead. Many people lying on the ground. A law enforcement source said one of the two suspects, so there are two suspects, we're being told right now. Keep this in mind because, you know, these stories always change and people end up disappearing. Like there was somebody who was there, who one of the suspects, you know, and then all of a sudden, no, there was only one in the car. So keep these first reports in mind, but also keep in mind that the first reports can be inaccurate. Okay, law enforcement sources said one of the two suspects are in custody, another is being sought. So there does appear to be a suspect at large. One man's son was almost struck by the truck, and he gave Heavy, the news source, this extremely graphic and disturbing account. Quote, "We just heard screaming up the parade route and looked over, and the red Jeep or SUV came barreling through. Michael Hurst, a woodworker from Waukesha, whose son was almost hit by the truck, told Heavy in a phone interview. Quote, I pulled my son away. He probably got missed by about a foot. There was a little kid next to us that got hit. I did see dead bodies. The amount of people who are going to be dead from this, it might even be worse than that Las Vegas shooting. They have a whole block of Main Street that is casualties. We did hear that there were active shooters. We don't know where that came from or if that's true. The police pulled me into a building and said to stay in there, get in there. There's active shooters. One officer told us they did stop the active shooters. My son was out in that street grabbing candy, close quote. He added, quote, at that moment, I thought just to grab my son and family and get them on the curb. It was 100% intentional, close quote. He believes the truck drove through the parade for about a mile. Quote, I saw a younger boy get hit. He was still alive. He was in a lot of pain. I'm pretty sure he was going to have broken legs. I did see another guy who was laying in the street. I guarantee he was dead. There were about 20 ambulances coming and going. It looked like a war zone down there. Close quote. So this is a little town, Waukesha, Wisconsin, which probably has a nearly zero murder and rape rate, but thanks to anti-whiteism, has been re-envisioned, as the anti-whites like to say, reimagined into a third world hell where this kind of thing is normal, not just for big cities. Isn't that right, Mayor of London? But for small ones, for big countries and little countries. The article goes on. The abandoned SUV was later located by police, so that vehicle is abandoned in someone's driveway, but it at this point doesn't appear to be the driveway of the owner. According to Scanner Radio, an officer said on the police radio that a bullet struck the windshield, but there was no evidence anyone inside the vehicle was hit. Another witness told Heavy, the news source, she saw a red SUV driving down the road. It hit a male who went flying into the air in front of her. It continued on. She heard screaming. This is hellish. A woman wrote Heavy, quote, a relative lives in Waukesha. A black guy with dreads knocked on her door shortly after the incident at the parade. She wouldn't let him in, and he proceeded to go across the street trying to break into a building. My daughter called 911 with a description, and they said they think he was driving the SUV that drove into all the people. Close quote. Police have not confirmed the suspect description, but they did describe the suspect as possibly being a black male on the scanner. So you have some, again, this might not be accurate. I'm just a guy reading news on YouTube. Might or might not be accurate, but you have a woman who wrote to this news source about what she and her daughter saw, and the news source is reporting on some chatter on the scanner about the description of the driver or one of the occupants. Mr. Fuker says, remember the RV that exploded last year in Nashville? That was swept under the carpet so quickly. Very suspicious. Last Christmas, yeah. I do remember that. See if anybody else has any other info in the chat. Doesn't look like it. We'll continue. And we will try to come back on the camera as I look at these. Fit and healthy at any age, financially gifting $5 as we are in the midst of piecing together this tragedy, this terrorist attack on white America, it seems. Waukesha, Wisconsin. The images seem to be mostly of white people, and I'm open to being corrected. And there are reports which may or may not be accurate about the race of at least one of the passenger or the driver of the red SUV being non-white. Fit and healthy at any age, financially gifts $5. He says, Mark Dice using anti-whiteism is a big win for us, but we must work harder now and continue to spread the lexicon far and wide. Let's do this. Absolutely, brother. 100%. Thank you so much for saying that. We have to push exactly harder and harder and harder at getting the key concepts of the lexicon to as many people as we possibly can while there is time to do so. The more people we can reach, the more lives we will change. Nathaniel Nelson says, hey, Jason, did you see the guy running for the house in West Virginia. He cited anti-whiteism in a post as one of his campaign trail issues. Gab attached. Really? No, I did not see that. Thank you, Nathan. I will check that out. That is magnificent. So he used anti-whiteism as well. I guess the anti-whites are going to say, Jason and that Going Free community, they didn't do that. Set the garbage straight. Let's jump back to this developing story. The video above shows a truck plowing into people. The live video may have captured the vehicle screams and a law enforcement officer running. Officers were frantic, yelling, even screaming on the scanner, which you can listen to later in this article. My God. This horrific video shows bodies lying on the ground as people rush up to help. We aren't going to embed it because it's so graphic. Quote, "Oh my God," a woman screams repeatedly. One very disturbing video showed a young man helping his grandpa to safety in a truck. Quote, "There's shots fired now, guys," he says in the Instagram video as kids cry in the background. Quote, "It's effing chaos. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life," close quote. A man wails, quote, "What is wrong with the world right now?" We know it's anti-whiteism, and we need to get to you with these concepts so that we can put an end to it, because this is going to happen more and more often until people begin going free, until they begin using the lexicon, the 5 key concepts. Be forewarned, this reads, that the video contains graphic language and is very disturbing. Obviously, I'm not going to be playing any of this because it is disgusting. Do you need to hear any more to get passionate and angry and get out there and create memes to help people go free? Do you need to listen to one more antique nationalist telling you how the way to go is to hate other races and how it's some other race's fault? Do you need to hear one more of that? Because guess what? The way things have been done has gotten us to where we are today. Being a Nazi, being an Ant-Nat, being a Hitlerian, being a doom documenter, sophisticatedly documenting and dissecting all the doom for decade after decades has gotten us to the point where SUVs drive through crowds. That's how we got here. That doesn't fix anything. Waukesha is a suburban city in a conservative, affluent county next to Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. Of course, has been riven with division recently over the Kyle Rittenhouse acquittal in Kenosha, which is about an hour away from Waukesha, which of course begs the question. From the moment I didn't say anything, I began getting messages about this because I didn't know if it was true or not, but I immediately thought, does this have something to do with Kyle Rittenhouse being acquitted? Because if it does, I'm not saying it does, but if it does, how many more are going to continue to celebrate a fictional Kyle Rittenhouse so that there can be more dead children and adults in the streets? How many more? The real Kyle Rittenhouse says he supports BLM. The real Kyle Rittenhouse is going to be haunted for the rest of his life. The fictional Kyle Rittenhouse is engendering potentially this, but other attacks you can guarantee. There is no indication of a connection at this point. There's just no information about motive or suspects yet because the incident is unfolding. I'm not going to read the people's names. Let's see. Twitter page describes her as a business reporting intern in Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Wrote on Twitter, update, A car just ran through middle of downtown Waukesha parade, multiple people on the ground. She wrote that the police were shouting that 30 people were injured. So we have the number from 30 to 40 somewhere. Police do not confirm or deny that a shooting occurred, at least at the moment that this was up to within the past 30 minutes. They said only the above statement on their emergency and then hung up because the incident is still unfolding. Heavy has obtained reports from multiple people with relatives at the scene, as well as social media accounts that all say the same thing. Multiple people injured after a car or truck plowed through a barricade and into the parade, and shots were fired. Authorities have not confirmed whether there are any injuries or deaths. Scanner traffic indicated that authorities have coded victims into categories red, yellow, green, and black, although it's not clear what that means at this point. And we can imagine what it means. How absolutely wretched this is. Another police officer said, quote, a maroon Ford Escape just blew by me, White Rock and Hartwell, heading toward the parade route. About a minute later, an officer called for help and said, quote, sounds like a car sped through westbound Maine, and said people had been ran over with, quote, multiple casualties, calling for multiple ambulances to respond. This is anti-whiteism. All of these other approaches have had an opportunity to prevent anti-whites from white erasing us. They've all had decades, 100 years. They've all had a lot of time. They've had an America, a Canada, an England, etc., that were all far more white than our countries are today and far less anti-white than our countries are today. And they have all failed. These people are dead today. If this has something to do, it seems to be heading the direction that it's anti-whites, may be connected to Rittenhouse trial. The blood of these people is in part on the hands of these white sympathetics who pursue in this ignorance, not the genuine people who care and are just trapped by stupidity. Those who have heard about going free, those who know about our successes and are not saying anything, those who pursue down these failed avenues have nothing here to complain about. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to take the dead on this street, and then they're going to use the dead to hate Jewish people. That's what they're going to do. When they themselves continue to advance ideas that have not been able to stop this one iota, they have not been able to slow down anti-whiteism in Western civilization one iota. None of it has. Not conservatism, not the Republican Party, not your conservative parties in whatever Western country that you're in, not what if you're trapped in the anti-white narrative and you're on the right of center, not libertarianism, nothing, not these effete Mayberry morons, not these functionally comatose Republican leaders. Not a single one has been able to do a single thing to stop this from happening. The dead and the dying and the maimed, the blood is on all of their hands. How much longer are you going to continue to support the Republican Party? How much longer are you going to continue to support Ant-Nat nitwittery, libertarianism, constitutionalism, antiquated nationalism? How much longer are you going to continue to tolerate it when all of that has been around and this is what you have? What if that is your little boy lying on that street with broken legs? What if that's your father out on that street that is definitely dead, according to that man? And these ideas have been around and they've been functioning And they've been there to talk to people and reach people, and with videos and literature, etc. It's all been here for decade after decade, your whole life. And now that's your little boy with broken legs on that street, for Christ's sake. Another police officer said, let's see where we'll pick it up. A frantic officer then got on the radio and said, quote, "We have about 10 to 15 people down in the street. We need all available units to the downtown." He then got back on the radio and yelled, "I've got about 30 people down." So his first glance, he saw as far as he could. He saw 10 to 15. Then he took a second glance, and he now double that number, more than double that number. He got back on. The officer then corrected himself, saying there were 40 casualties on Main Street. Another officer said a woman was not conscious and not breathing. What if that's your mother? Are you still a conservative? Are you still going to vote for Republicans? I'm serious. Are you still going to vote for another Republican? You need to go free. You need to find out what going free is. The people in the live chat will tell you. This is the only way we're going to stop this kind of thing from happening in the future. Whether this is directly connected with anti-whiteism or indirectly connected with anti-whiteism is yet to be seen. This is the only way we're going to stop this. We have to be in our own story. No more voting for You should absolutely despise the Republicans you voted for. You should despise the conservative leaders that you financially support. You should despise the ant-nat nitwits. You should despise all of those doom documenting and doom dissecting, who is going to do what? They're going to tell you everything about this in painful detail in days to come, aren't they? They're going to painfully dissect every aspect of what happened here, where the driver came from, what his Facebook page looked like, or her Facebook page. And I have a photograph right here of what looks like to be the driver of the vehicle driving the vehicle. And it by the looks of the photograph, it might not be accurate, but it looks like a non-white person, which would match the other claim. And then what was heard by this newspaper source over the scanner. Is that person anti-white? They're going to get for you every single detail, where this person came from, how they were angered. And then the ant-nat idiots are going to tell you, well, it was all this other group of people all along. How many fucking times do you have to hear this shit? How many times does it have to turn out the exact same way? I'm telling you before they do it. Are you ready to make a change in the world, in your life? Do you want to put an end to this? Everybody who continues to do those old ways is a goddamn idiot. Everybody who stays invested is a goddamn idiot. And everybody who sees the attacks on me and the efforts that we make that are succeeding, that just reach 2 million people with the concept of anti-whiteism that is liberating for our people, every single person seeing those attacks should find a way to undermine and silence legally those who are endeavoring to destroy us, the only people who are having success in pushing back against anti-whiteism. What do you think about them now? What if that's your mother that isn't breathing and moving on the street? What if that's your daughter? Waukesha is not that far away because it's in every one of our hearts since we built Western civilization. Says on the scanner, quote, "Alert all the hospitals," and officer screams. Police were still searching for the vehicle and the suspect as of 4:47 p.m., according to an officer's radio transmission. He said they were looking for a red Ford Escape SUV with, quote, "heavy front end damage." Those are the bodies of human beings, both white and non-white. Heading southbound away from the parade. Another officer said he had fired shots at the SUV. So we have a confirmation of what we had suspected, that the police had fired shots at the SUV when it was driving through the parade area. Wow, that took a lot of guts, because that officer knew that any bullet that didn't find its mark could potentially hit a civilian. Here's the Facebook Live of the video page of the video from the city. Wow. Heavy spoke to multiple people with loved ones on the scene. Just talked to a friend, quote, just talked to a friend. She said she saw bodies flying. There were shooting out the windows as they drove through, running people over. They were shooting out the windows as they drove through, running people over, close quote. So this witness claimed that the driver and or passenger were also shooting at the people who were standing along the parade route as the driver ran over people. Scanner traffic indicated people were transported to multiple hospitals, including Children's Hospital. Police were checking businesses for victims. Scanner traffic indicated police were scanning for two men. So it appears to be that there were two men in the vehicle. And folks, if you are smart at the moment, you're going to grab the URL from this stream and you're going to jump on to other threads that are talking about other streams that are talking about this right now. And you're going, or if they won't let you post the URL, you're going to say, hey, over at No White Guilt on YouTube, much better take on what's going on. Leave this stream of anti-white nonsense and come over there ASAP. I'm not going to be on much longer. This is so sickening. This is happening today because specifically what we were discussing earlier, these people have been pushing back in the white sympathetic sphere, have been submerging me with slander, with lies, with defamation, with libel, with blacklisting. This is all they're doing because we have something that works, but they want to make sure that what aggrandizes them and makes them money continues. Their Hitler worship or their Mayberry moron nonsense. I think, if you have any sense, when the Republicans come out to make speeches about this and say how horrible this is, people really need to maybe throw something that won't hurt them, but maybe they need to get the message that we hate, we despise Republican leaders. We despise the Republican Party. Maybe they need to be hit with some water balloons or something that won't cause any harm whatsoever. Maybe they need to be shouted down because they've had enough time. And we're sick and tired of hearing them come out and make these claims about what needs to happen next and who needs to be held accountable. And then they don't do shit for Western kind in the United States. Nothing. But rest assured, they're going to be out there moralizing by tomorrow morning. They're going to be out there moralizing. The conservative media on Fox and like places will give you a sanitized version. The anti-whites will be sweeping under the rug if it's elsewhere. Will be if it ends up contradicting the anti-white narrative. The Republican politicians will be out there moralizing, talking about how something needs to be done, how to everything that's been done in America, as though they've ever done anything in their lives except be professional losers. And then you're going to see the rest in the white sympathetic sphere doom document and doom dissect this until there is no tomorrow, like they have always done. And they've been in place, and that's why we're here. Bodies went flying. They were shooting out the windows. A woman who's shooting out of the windows. A woman whose friend was there told Heavy, we are not printing people's names for their own protection and privacy, parenthetical. Her friend wrote her, people driving through parade, hurting people. That was all she was able to type to her friend. Scanner traffic indicated people were transported to multiple hospitals, including Children's Hospital. Oh my God. Police were checking businesses for victims. Scanner traffic indicated police were searching for two men. At the Waukesha holiday parade and a car, quote, at the Waukesha holiday parade and a car just broke through the police line, plowing through pedestrians and firing rounds out the window. So here we have another source saying that the occupants of the red SUV were not only driving through people, and the car has heavy front end damage from the bodies that were hitting the front of the vehicle in a conservative area, and the pictures do seem to be predominantly white people, but anybody dying is the same, human life. And again, another claim that the occupants were shooting at the pedestrians as well. Quote, at the Waukesha holiday parade, and a car just broke through the police line, plowing through pedestrians and firing rounds out the window. Family and I are safe. Happened 20 feet in front of us, a man wrote on Twitter. Quote, police shouting, at least 30 people down, and that shots were fired. Heavy police and ambulance presence now. Tons of families with children running to their cars to leave the scene. Again, that information is unconfirmed at this point from authorities. We have more from people on the ground here. Lots of quotes. Quote, my brother is locked in a store. He said a car drove into the crowd firing shots. Another person on the ground. Quote, my daughter is barricaded in a store with her husband and son. Another person on the ground in the middle of the event. Quote, my son is there and called me crying. He said a truck ran through the barricade. How old is the son? I wonder. Another person who's on the ground, another woman who was in the parade. She heard, quote, that a car ran through the parade and multiple people down. Little girl critically injured. Someone mentioned gunshots because as we were walking back toward my car, everyone started running. The opposite way. Everyone started running the opposite way. And so we started running and stayed in a gas station until my sister picked us up. This is horrific. This is absolutely horrific. Go free of the anti-white narrative. Do it now. Go free of the anti-white. No more questions. No more sticking with these old ways. No more voting Republican. No more giving money to Republicans. No more supporting conservative Inc. No more supporting old school nationalism. No more supporting old school patriotism. Do you want to continue to live in a world like this? Do you want to continue to be in a world that gets worse and worse and worse for Western kind and our countries? Because every one of these entities have existed the entire time that things have been getting worse. How can you be so fucking stupid to continue to support an set of ideas, people and vehicles that have have enabled us, that have not done anything to stop us from getting to this point where we are today, where this kind of thing happens regularly? It will only get worse unless you go free of the anti-white narrative. It's simply a matter of using certain concepts in your language. That's it. All you have to do is use language. You can go free at Amazon.com. You can go to NoWhiteGuiltCollectibles.com and you can get a signed copy from there. This has been changing the world. We started this stream talking about how we got one of the key concepts into the eyes and ears of 2 million people, a key concept that puts us in charge of our story, a moral matrix that will make you, white person, for the first time in your life, not have to apologize for wanting to put an end to the victimization of Western kind, that will enable you, non-white person, who is sick and tired of seeing your white friends and maybe even relatives victimized on the basis of their race. You will never be able to do it with any of those other vehicles. Stop being a child. These are your family members next that get run over or gunned down. Sloth says here with a $5 financial gift, do you think white people who support MLB in the mirror are anti-white? There has to be some inherent callousness and antagonism in someone who is white negative, who flee their race. It's a great point. Thank you so much, Sloths. $5 financial gift, a great champion. And thank you for bringing it to our opinion, to our attention, that Kyle said on the stand that he was a supporter of BLM. We have a dude financially gifting $50. Let's get a big round of raucous emojis for dude. Thank you so very much for that kind financial gift. He says here, thank you for all of your work and effort. It is refreshing to see a path of progress and positivity due to your going free lessons. Thank you so much for that magnificent testimonial and that magnificent financial gift. Folks, we're going to have people watching this live or in replay that are not, they're not going to know what going free is. The anti-white narrative. They're not going to know about the practice. They're going to be coming from many different backgrounds. They might be constitutionalists. They might be Hitlerian idiots. They're going to come from everywhere. They're not going to know what and who we are and how we succeed, how we just got a key concept that liberates Western kind into the eyes and ears of 2 million people. They're not going to know about how that works. Make your testimonials now. You can just write them right into the live chat. You don't have to financially gift with any of them, but we deeply appreciate dude financially gifting $50 as a testimonial to the success of the work that we're doing here in service to white well-being. Let this be the moment that changes your life. Let this bloodshed be the blood that washes away the sins of all of your past. Let these people's blood baptize you into a new life so that you can be effective, so that you can recapture your personal destiny, so that you can make a difference in the world for Western civilization. It doesn't matter what race you are. All good people are being called to put an end to anti-whiteism and things like this, therefore. Come to going free now. Don't let another minute go by. There are dead children on the streets in this city. The answer is to go free. Make their lives mean something for you. Sakis financially gifts $5 for the memory of the people lost in this evil attack. God bless you, brother. Thank you so very much for saying that. We'll get right back to the latest news. I have a lot of information coming in from many different sources. And we will get the latest to you. U.S. car rams into Wisconsin Christmas parade. This is under 15 minutes old. News that is under 15 minutes old about this event. The attack in the Milwaukee suburb of Waukesha has left several injured. Police are asking people to temporarily stay away from downtown Waukesha. A vehicle sped into a Christmas parade in the U.S. state of Wisconsin on Sunday, leaving more than 20 people injured, according to local authorities. We now know that number could be as high as in the 40s. The attack occurred in Waukesha, a city within the Milwaukee metropolitan area. Police said the scene was now safe, and they had, quote, a person of interest they were looking into at this point. So we had from another story just before this one that they had taken one into custody and they were looking for another. Is that true? Has that been confirmed yet? We're still waiting to see. However, local media reported that Waukesha residents have been asked to shelter in place as police search for suspects. So shelter in place order in Waukesha. Its mayor, Sean told a local TV station he did not believe there was any more danger to the public. What do we know so far? A live video of the parade captured the moment the SUV broke through a barrier and sped onto the road where the parade was taking place. At 4:39 p.m., a red SUV drove into a Christmas parade that we were holding downtown. More than 20 people were injured in this incident, close quote. Waukesha Police Chief Dan Thompson told reporters. Waukesha Police Department has recovered a suspect vehicle. It's an ongoing investigation, close quote. He said victims were transported to the hospital by ambulances, police cars, and with family members. Quote, it was a very tragic incident, very chaotic. There are no other threats involved. The scene is now safe, close quote, said Thompson. Quote, we have a person of interest we are looking into at this point, he added. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean they have one person and they're searching for another? Local officials, because, you're telling people to shelter in place, and we have a person of interest, you're holding a person of interest, or there's someone out there that you think is the suspect and you're looking for them. A local official said he was at the parade when the vehicle sped into the area. Quote, we heard a loud bang and just deafening cries and screams from people who were struck by the vehicle. Then we saw people running away or crying, and there were people on the ground who looked like they'd been hit by the vehicle. So that was, let's see if this has been updated. Again, I'm seeing things like massive police presence, mass casualty incident. Okay, we have some updated news. Waukesha, Wisconsin. Police say at least 20 people were injured after a red SUV ran through the city's Christmas parade, plowing into many people, including small children. Graphic video emerged from the scene. You can watch some later, but be forewarned, they are disturbing. Local residents said that their loved ones were barricaded in stores after a vehicle drove through the crowd. Many people believe the suspect was shooting from it as gunfire echoed through the parade route. But the police chief, Dan Thompson, now says he doesn't believe shots were fired from the SUV, telling a local journalist. Officers tried to stop the threat. So it may be that the people believed that a suspect or suspects were shooting from the vehicle when, in fact, it was the police trying to stop the vehicle in its progress through the crowd. Local residents reported many people lying on the ground, injured and dead. A law enforcement source said one of two suspects are in custody. Another is being sought. So here we're back to, in the latest news, that there are two suspects. One is in custody, one is being sought. The police chief would say only that police have apprehended, quote, a person of interest. So there is a stay-in-place order because there is someone else out there. Let's see. The mayor said it was a traumatic situation for the city of Waukesha. We don't have all that many details. The chief said that at 4:39 p.m. on November 21, 2021, a red SUV drove into our Christmas parade. More than 20 individuals were injured, close quote. So don't be part of the crowd. You know what's coming here. Since it is the 21st of November at 2021, don't be part of the idiot crowd that now says, let's all talk about the conspiracy of how the date is important for this group over here or that group over there. All that matters is putting an end to anti-whiteism, the greatest evil of our age, an evil that is calling good people from all backgrounds to put an end to that evil. The horns, the silver trumpets for the heroes of this age are being blown this very moment if you have the ears to hear them. Answer that call to the glory of your dignity, to the glory that you seek, and let's put an end to anti-whiteism so that we can put an end to this sort of thing. It won't do you any good to talk about how this date has some meaning for some other group of people, etc. All that matters is that we put an end to anti-whiteism. You'll see everything I'm predicting unfolding in the next couple of days. He said that Waukesha Police Department has recovered a suspect vehicle. It's an ongoing investigation. The victims were transported from the scene via ambulance. Officers transported some of the injured people and took them to the hospital. It's a very tragic incident, very chaotic. There are no threat. Now, what if these people, I want to ask you this, what if these people were empowered? Because we're getting ready. I'm gonna sign off here in a moment. We're getting ready, folks, for things to get at a pace increasingly worse for Western kind and Western civilization. What would have happened if the people of Waukesha, who were out there at this parade today, if over all of these years of people slandering me and people holding me back and holding you back for sharing the lexicon of going for the anti-white narrative that works, the dialectics that work for our people, that provide a moral matrix for us, what if they hadn't been in the way? What if this event still happened because not enough people knew yet? But what if the people were immediately gabbing and tweeting and on Facebook saying some anti-white POS just ran over everybody in the street? Would that be a unifier? Would that put a demand on every white man, woman, and child to identify as a potential victim of this? Would that not absolutely transform how this is going to be interpreted? How much harder would it be for anti-whites in news and entertainment media and education in the days after this and the weeks after this, if indeed this does end up being directly anti-white instead of indirectly anti-white? How much harder would it have made them to demonize and sweep aside the complaints of the white population and the non-white population who stands with us to put an end to anti-whiteism? How much harder would it be for these anti-whites, news, entertainment, media, and education, to just dismiss people who are saying, we've got to put an end to the victimization of Western kind. We've got to put an end to this hatred that has devalued the lives of white people to such an extent that anti-whites will mow them down with trucks. We've got to put an end to it. Anti-whites would not be able to get away with it. They would not be able to dismiss it and sweep it aside. But you know what they will be able to dismiss and sweep aside? The claims that'll be said by the Nazis. The claims that'll be the idiot, toothless promises by Republicans. They'll be able to sweep all that shit aside. They'll be able to say, this is just the ravings of people who just hate other groups of humanity. Easily sweep all of it aside so that your brothers and sisters, the people we care about, are going to be the next victims. So whose fault is that going to be? Anti-whites hate you. There's no getting away from that. Anti-whites hate every single thing about you, your family, your past, your history. They want you to suffer. They want you dead. You don't need to know anything else about them. The question is, what are you going to do about the toothless Republicans and conservatives and constitutionalists and libertarians, all the way to the Hitlerians who come forward and behave in ways that enabled us to get to this point where it was your mother or daughter or son or whatever it might be that is lying on the street dead tonight. How are you going to handle it? How are you going to handle when these folks, it's not going to be so much the Republicans because they want to ignore people like us as best they kill us with silence, but it's going to be those folks out there who are militiamen or cravens or Klansmen's or ant-nats or whatever. They're going to be the ones when they start attacking those who are going free. How are you going to handle that? How are you going to handle when they come at us to undermine the great work that we are doing, the only work that is making a change in the world, the only work that is stymieing and undermining anti-whiteism? How are you going to act when what they peddle enables the anti-whites to continue to do what they do and create a world like this in which you get run down or the people you care about get run down? None of us can walk on water, but together we can walk through fire. Let's let the blood of these people wash us of the bad decisions that we've made in the past. Because if you don't, your blood or someone you care about will be the next spilling out on a cold street in a Wisconsin suburb or somewhere just like it.